Hey, good evening. What's going on, boys and girls? And welcome to tonight's edition of Kate Side with Christopher James. I'm Christopher James. How y'all doing tonight? Good to see you. Good to have you on board joining us, man. We got a great show for you tonight, and I can't wait to get rolling on this one tonight. We're going to have us a lot of fun right here, boys and girls, and it's going to be a damn good time. So here we go right now. Like I said, welcome to the show. Just let me go ahead and do a little bit of quick maintenance right here. I just put $7.99. So we're gonna have us a good show tonight. 7:30. I can't even spell anymore. So I hope you guys are ready for a show. I did a little video this morning talking about John Jones, and I haven't really got any pop on it yet. But we are, doing our thing here tonight. So, we're going to have us a good time, as I said, man. Don't forget, I'm going to put up on the screen here. I got a lot of dates coming up for ring announcing. I just happened to get lucky, and blessed to be working with a lot of good promotions. So, where's that damn thing right there? I always hate doing this part of the show here where I have to, get everything all set up. My first guest is standing by in the green room. His green room looks better than my studio. I'm a little upset about that, but it's all right. I'm going to bring him in right now. And feel free to share the broadcast around everywhere. And, we're going to have a good time tonight, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now for the first time ever on my show. I'm happy to have him here with us. I'm a big fan of his. There's not too many media guys that I'm a fan of as, like a fan of a fighter. But this guy I am. There's something about him. He's got this quality, this knack, this personality. I listen to his interviews when he talks to fighters, and guys like to talk to him. I don't know why, but I'm going to ask him. Maybe there's a magic thing he can teach me, and I can pick it up too. So let's bring him on right now, boys and girls. You've seen him everywhere. He's done it all, been around, and please welcome to the show for the very first time, Mr. James Lynch, joining us tonight on Cage Side with Christopher James. Mr. Lynch, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me, and what an intro that is. I feel like I owe you a beer now.
Oh, well, if I drank, I'd take you up on that, man. But if you ever want to twist one up, come down to Tampa. I got you, bro.
I'm from Canada. Totally cool with that, too. So.
Oh, man. Well, thanks for taking the time to do the show. I don't normally reach out to other media guys to get on the show, but then there's guys like you, and I've reached out to Damon Martin. He's agreed to do it a couple of times, but he had something come up. Guy gets busy. But you and Damon Martin, I really respect the way you guys do your work. But there's something with you. And before we get into that, just for the people that are just tuning in and first seeing you and maybe first exposure to you, just give everybody a quick synopsis of you and how you got into MMA media and, why you love it. Because I can tell by the way you work that you do love what you do. And, you can see it in the way you present yourself and your interviews.
Well, thank you for that. I'm just a regular guy like the rest of us. I just happen to love fighting, and I figured out a way to do this as a career. So I'm more than happy to do it. I'll give you the short version. I wanted to be a hockey reporter, hockey journalist. Took a little right turn in university when I became a fan of the UFC. I was not a fan from the beginning. I was a tough noob, as they used to call us back in the day. I got into the Ultimate Fighter and became a fan of the show. And then I just started, sort of my first brush with media was years ago, actually. I used to work at the Fight Network. If you remember them, they used to do a lot of coverage back in the day. Now they're more so pro wrestling, but I used to work for them. That's sort of where I started, left them, went freelance, had a day job, was doing sort of the interviews on the side. I started doing video interviews probably back about 2013, 2014, just on the side. And I was sort of had this idea, I'll interview anyone. It doesn't matter. I felt like, I wanted to practice and get better on camera. And fast forward to October of 2017, I was going to become a dad for the first time. So I couldn't do my day job and do the freelance stuff at the same time. So I made the decision to leave my day job, do this full time, and work for a bunch of different outlets. Did that until May of 2019, got hired by a big outlet, worked for them full time, got the salary job, got the benefits, got the paid travel. I had the dream job. It was great. And then, that ended in what was it, June of this year? Well, July, basically. It was like near July 1st. So then I went back to being a freelancer. So that's what I'm doing now, but I'm working for way more outlets than I was before. See, when I went freelance the first time, I was working for a couple outlets and a bigger commitment. Now I work for like 10 outlets and I do these little small commitments, which is fine by me. It's the same amount of work. So that's what I do. Yeah, I interview fighters. I do a bit of writing. I do a bit of social media content as well. But mainly, I'm probably the only guy in the industry right now that's doing just full-time, just straight video interviews. That's pretty much what I do. So I think I summarized that there. Yeah, hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, you really did. And, I would say, like you, I would probably say 95% of my content is video interviews. I like to reach out to fighters and, talk to them, coaches, managers, anybody in the business. And then I write as well for my website, mymmashow.com. And like I said, I remember watching you and seeing you at a bunch of different places, different sites or videos that you were working with. I was going, this guy's all over the fucking place, man. I'm out here doing my independent thing, and he's got this job, he's got that job, he's got this job, and then you had the regular job in MMA for a while. And I remember when you that job left earlier this summer, I sent you a message, man. I was like, man, that just sucks. But you never even skipped a beat. You caught back on with Eric Kowal at mymmashow.com or mymmanews.com.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. I always get confused with mine and his. One day I'm going to sell him.
They both have I would do the same thing.
I'm going to sell him my site one day for a big chunk of money. I'm going to be like, all right, dude, just give me a lot of money just so the people aren't confused. But the people don't get confused. They know the differences. But he's one of the guys I respect a lot. I've tried to get him on the show a couple of times. He's always busy, either cooking something, drinking something, or chasing something out in the woods. So it's hard. Or
eating chicken wings. Let's not forget that's a big part.
Chicken wings,
chicken wings too, right? He's a big chicken wing guy.
Too,
I'm the same way. I love my beer and wings. So
I don't do, I do wings, but I don't do spicy wings, and I don't drink. So it's like, man, I'm like, I feel like half
honey
a man.
Mustard, maybe honey garlic wings, and then some
lemon pepper,
like some sparkling water or something. I don't know. Or Coke.
I do a little lemon pepper. I'll chase it with a Mountain Dew.
There you
can't
go.
see the Mountain Dew because I got the green screen, so it's kind of weird that it does that. But whatever,
look invisible. Yeah.
Cool. So as you got into the sport, and again, I know from my own personal experience, trying to get fighters onto the show, is a task. I've gone out, and one thing I'm proud to say is I've never had anybody hump for me to get me interviews. I've gone out, and every contact I have, every interview I do is because I put in the legwork to do it. And that makes me feel good. It's my work. I don't have an editor or a producer and everything. And you don't either. You're a freelancer. Even when you had your regular gig, you still kind of did your own thing because, you proved beyond a doubt that, you know what you're doing and you create good content. Do you miss the regular gig or do you enjoy the freelancing more because it does allow you a little more freedom to work basically on your schedule? No deadlines to meet unless you decide you want to meet one.
There's pros and cons. Obviously, I have a family, I have a mortgage to pay. So the financial security is nice that, but then even saying that, like, look, I didn't think I was going to lose that job. It ended up, they just eliminated my position. I didn't get fired. I want to clarify that. They were like, hey, we're not doing this anymore. So it was like, whatever, that was fine. But I do like the freedom. I'm much happier now. One of the things I really missed that I didn't get to do when I was working at that previous job was interview a lot of prospects. And that's something I really enjoy. One of the best parts of covering the sport, as I'm sure you know, and I've seen your interviews as well, is that you get to interview these fighters that are on the come up and you see them make it to the UFC and then eventually go on, and you sort of get to follow their career as you're moving along in your own career. So that's been great. I do like the own schedule where I can kind of do as much as I want or as little as I want, and it's fine. For now this is good. I'm open to going full time again if it's with the right outlet. But for now, this is cool. This is good. I like what I'm doing right now. I like the work I'm getting to produce. I'm happy with the work I'm getting to do. So it's a lot of freedom, like you said. And I think the greatest thing too is that I can take on as much work as I want, and I can kind of customize it how I want. So, before it was like I was exclusive. So if someone said, hey, we have something interesting for you, I couldn't take it. Like I couldn't even do, I remember when I was at my previous job, like I do commentary for a local promotion out here in British Columbia called Rise Fighting Championships. They wanted me to do interviews for their fighters leading up to the fights. Like we're talking like, fighters that are just on the come up, and I wasn't allowed to do that. And I thought that was kind of crazy because it's like, these aren't UFC fighters. It's not like I'm giving another outlet an advantage. We're talking fighters that might not even make it to the UFC. UFC. So to have that freedom again is just awesome. It's been really good. I'll be honest, I'm super grateful for the opportunities I've had since leaving, because I had no idea what the market was going to look like after leaving for about a year and a bit and then coming back in. I've got a lot of opportunities. A lot of the work I get it was work that was, people reached out to me, which is awesome. So must be doing something right. And it's been really, honestly, I'm just grateful for the work I'm getting, and just to have the people in the industry that are, believing me and give me the opportunity to speak to their fighters, or if the fighters themselves just taking the time. I'm super blessed for that.
Yeah. So a question for you is, how do a couple of guys from Canada, you and Ariel, like become two of the most well-known names in mixed martial arts media? I find it amusing because there's a lot of guys out there that do media. There's a lot of guys out there that, in my opinion, I'll just say, you don't have to agree or whatever. There's a lot of guys that shouldn't be doing MMA media because they don't really present it the right way. And it's not even that. Yeah. Everybody's got a camera and a microphone. Everybody thinks they could do this, but they can't. So you, and again, I've talked to other people about, who I think are the best guys in MMA, and, Ariel has the biggest, most recognizable job. Brett Okamoto has, the second biggest, most recognizable job. And then after that, there's the next tier is, guys like you and Damon Martin, that I've read both of your stuff, worked for both of you guys for a long time. And, you're one of the most respected guys in the industry because you don't put out bullshit. You don't put out clickbait. And your stuff is mostly more interview than, like me. Sometimes I'll dip into topics, and some people get pissed off, but it is what it is. That's what I like to write about. So that's what I'll write about. But how'd that happen? And, just two guys, a couple of blokes from Canada, all of a sudden. And the funny thing is, when we were speaking, you were talking about your education, you went university. It's a clear Canadian way to describe going to college. And I love that you don't, you're up in British Columbia and you continue to be Canadian. But it really, like, if I was going, Jesus Christ, two of the most recognized guys in MMA media are from Canada. Didn't think that was going to happen.
Sure. Maybe it's something in the water. I'm not sure. I just know for me, it was maybe because I grew up watching hockey. I'm still a big hockey fan, that, maybe that the physicality of it sort of brought me into MMA. Actually, I was a pro wrestling fan for a little period when I was younger. And so that sort of drew me into MMA, just because, you do see the personalities. And I think that's actually what drew me to the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, because they actually, I think unintentionally, these characters that were on that show, Lehman and Diego Sanchez and Forrest Griffin. I mean, these were guys that you wanted to, you saw the human side of it, and then you wanted to see how they could actually fight. So that sort of led me to it. You brought up a lot of stuff actually that I wanted to make sure I covered. So one of the things you brought up earlier, and this ties into what you were going to ask me there, was hustling. That is like my number one thing. The people, I'm like you. There's people I don't respect in this industry that get handout interviews, and I will always respect people who hustle. Some of my really good friends are people that hustle. Mike Heck's a great example. He's killing it over at MMA Fighting right now, doing his show, and I think that was just such a perfect fit. And you know what? Mike put the work in. Mike's interviewing the fighters that are 1-0 and are on the come up, and put the time in and put the effort in, and didn't take any shortcuts, and didn't have the UFC saying, here's these interviews. He went and found the managers and built those relationships, and that's sort of what I've done as well too. You mentioned Damon Martin. That guy does not get nearly enough credit. I could not believe he was not nominated for Journalist of the Year this year, with the amount of work that he's done, not only with breaking news, but the fact that he gets some of the biggest interviews in the sport as well too. He's not an on-camera guy, but Damon puts in the work on the writing side as well too. So I'm totally with you there. Eric Kowal does a great job with his side as well too. Basically, if I can sit down and have a beer with you, and I know you don't drink, but you know what I mean, like someone you can sit and have a conversation with, that's the type of people I respect, and the people that work hard and put the time in, and who they are. I mean, we could go through the entire list here. We'd be here for a while, but there are people that don't do that. So that's sort of my perspective on that. In terms of being Canadian and just doing this, I don't know, it just kind of happened. I'm a big fan, and there's a few there's actually a lot of Canadians covering the sport. Adam Martin, my old podcast host, he does obviously some stuff for BJ Penn and some of the other sites. You've got Mike Bond over at MMA Junkie. There's a few of us there from the Great White North that are still kicking. And another thing you touched on that I wanted to cover, because I just remembered it now, is that you talked about like the clickbait stuff. You're right. I don't post a lot of opinion stuff on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. I just post my interviews, because we live in a world now where you say the wrong thing, you post the wrong thing, people are going to come after you. And I just tend to leave that. If I'm going to give my opinions, it's going to be on my podcast. And you want to know why? Because if someone's going to tune in to my podcast and want to hear my opinion on something, I have enough time to articulate it, as opposed to 200 characters on a Twitter feed or something along those lines. And guess what? I got ads on my YouTube videos. So if you're going to watch my stuff and you want to give me a hard time, you got to pay for it at least. So that's how I look at it. Why waste your time on Twitter arguing with people? I don't get involved in drama. I post the interviews. I do that. And another thing, I know I'm talking real fast here, but reputation is so important here. The reason I've had the opportunities I've had, and like I mentioned, when I got let go, I had a lot of stuff come my way, is because of the fact that people know when they do an interview with me, I'm not going to try and steer them in the wrong direction. And it's not about kissing ass or anything like that. It's about being professional. You can ask the tough questions, but you have to do it in a way that's professional, and you're not trying to deceive the person that you're interviewing. It's very simple. I mean, to me, there's ways to approach certain topics without being, just deceitful. So I think it's possible. And I think the biggest thing I can, if anyone's watching that's in media right now, the biggest thing I can recommend is just, show that respect to everyone. If you do that, word gets around fast. It's a big industry, but it's a small industry. The fact that you know who I am, I know who you are. I mean, it just goes to show that everybody's watching content. So make sure what you're putting out there is good, it's quality, and you're taking the time to really improve. I think that's another thing. There's people in this industry, Chris, and you know who I'm talking about, that are the exact same person that they've been for the last 5-6 years. They haven't improved. They haven't evolved. And if you look back at my interviews from, even a year ago, 2 years ago, there are little adjustments I've made where I've upgraded things, and I've really, made a better effort. So those are sort of the key things that I think have made it so I'm allowed to do this full time.
Yeah, and I like the fact that we come from that, or cut from that same cloth. Hustling. I go out there, and like I said, every interview I've ever gotten, I get on my own. I don't have somebody out there humping for me and trying to put the content together. And then I do my show my own way. And the way my show has changed over the years. First I was doing, a long time ago, I did a broadcast television show here in Tampa, doing MMA, pre-recording everything and then airing it out on a local station. And that was cool. I did local radio for a few years. That was fun. And then I started doing interviews on Facebook Live, just because I could. And then I said, I got to upgrade. So now, I got the little studio set up here. I got the green screen. I look a little fancier. I keep my hair cut a little nicer. And the thing I do, like you, when I talk to a fighter, I try to make them feel like they can be themselves. They don't have to put on a front or a face. Like if they're on ESPN or if they're on, a big TV network, I tell them, look, be yourself. If you want to drop an F-bomb, drop an F-bomb. If you want to drink a beer while you're doing the show, drink a beer. If you want to smoke a joint or hit a bomb, I don't care. I do goofy things sometimes with the fighters and people. I don't like, and I'm telling you this now because at the end of the interview, I'm probably going to ask you to do it because I've never had a guest say no. But I ask people to come on the show, and the first time they come on, I ask them to sing. And people go, why do you do that? And I said, with fighters, I do that because the fighters, they're people. And sometimes the fan doesn't realize that. And so the singing thing makes somebody sometimes, especially if they can't sing, feel a little uncomfortable and awkward, but it hits them in their human side. And then once they do it, everybody's like, oh my God, that was so cool. Like I had Michelle Waterson sing happy birthday to Mike Davis in Tampa. I've had Courtney Casey on the show singing. She was my favorite one still to this time. This was a few years back. She came on and she did the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song. Like she just was sitting there. I go, all right, it's time for Courtney Casey to sing. What do you got for me? She sat back for a minute and then she just went, in West Philadelphia, and she just busted it out. I almost crapped my pants. It was just too good. But it gives the fans a little different view of their fighters. They go, oh, they're just a goofy person just like me that I could see singing karaoke at the local bar. And again, like you, I don't like to sometimes ask the tough questions because everybody else already is asking those questions, sometimes. So I just kind of like, sometimes I avoid, if I have an athlete on the show, let's say that's facing a suspension and everybody knows it, I don't even really bring it up because we've heard it, we've rehashed it. I just try to find out how they're living their life that day and treat them with respect. The hard thing for me, and maybe you could touch on this, is I've become friends with some of these fighters. So sometimes when I have to tell truthful things about them, like after the performance of a fight, they get a little upset, because they think I'm their friend, and I am, but I have to tell the truth. If you screwed up, if you got busted for doping or something, I have to speak the truth. I'm not going to tell the truth, but some of them get offended. So I'm trying to create that happy balance between being a friend to the fighter and doing my job professionally. Have you run into that, and how do you deal with that? Because it's tough. You want to be friends with these guys. They're cool people. They do a cool job. You're like, fuck, man, I get to go on this guy beat somebody up. So how do you deal with that, Mr. Lynch? Because I'm curious.
Well, I think the biggest thing too is that you got to remember, you got to try and be unbiased if you can, especially when you're doing an interview. You don't want to come across as a fanboy, right? You got to try and call it down the line. And I'm with you. I mean, I've had drinks with fighters after, events, being in Vegas. I've had a lot of cool experiences in terms of getting to hang out with fighters and things of that nature. I think the biggest thing is if the fighter knows who you are, truly who you are. I mean, I do a show every Monday. I have to pick fights. I mean, I'm sure there's fighters that I've interviewed that are friends of mine that have watched it and are like, I can't believe you picked against me. But the reality is that they have to understand. I think what it comes down to is as long as you're respectful, if you're explaining, like if you're going to go on a show and say this guy sucks, he's scared, you're saying stupid stuff like that you see fans say sometimes, then yeah, you're an idiot. You shouldn't be doing that. But if you're going into detail, like if we're talking about Tyron Woodley fighting Colby Covington, I mean, you can't gloss over the fact that his last two fights have not been great. He's been dominated in both of those matchups. Now, I'm not friends with Woodley, but let's say I was. I mean, he shouldn't get mad at me because that's exactly what happened, right? So it's like there's that. I think what it comes down to is the fighter has to know who you are. You can't please everyone. I think that's what you have to remember, that no matter what, there's going to be people who don't like you, just the way there's people who don't like my content, even though I always tell people, like, this is a free society. You don't have to watch my stuff. There's millions of other people doing this sport and covering it just as much as I do. So if you're going to sit here and complain about something, you're only wasting your own time. You can click on something else, right? It's not a big deal. So that's sort of my mentality, is that, look, I try and call it like it is. I try and be respectful. If someone takes something the wrong way, it's not the end of the world, because it's just the reality. People sometimes are sensitive about certain things. I actually talked about this on my Q&A this morning, where I had a fighter get mad at me about something, about a comment I made, but it was taken out of context. And it's like, and I explained to that fighter, this is actually what I said, and they still got upset, and they wouldn't, they're like, oh, I get all these abuse from fans and stuff. And I said, look, like, you know me well enough that I'm not meaning it in a derogatory way. I'm saying I said what I said. Maybe I could have used my words a little bit better, but in general, I don't think I was being malicious. So look, you just have to go into this knowing this. You can't take it personally. It's business. And just, as long as you feel like you're doing the best job and you're doing what you're supposed to, then you can't let that stuff bother you.
Yeah. Do you have a fighter that favorite fighter to cover?
I haven't hid this before. Gegard Mousasi has been my favorite fighter forever. Dating back to when he fought Dream
from Forrest Daniels. He's watching the show, so I don't want to put it on the screen for him. So there.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, no, put it on there. It's all good by me. No, it's Gegard Mousasi. I don't know what it is. I've always been a fan of his. Dating back to when he fought in Dream, and then he came over, went to Strikeforce, went to the UFC. Now he's in Bellator, and I don't know what it is. There's just no one like him. He fights he's just a good fighter. He's got a very different demeanor than most fighters, and he's kind of like a goofy guy. And there was a point where earlier in his career, he was not like good at interviews. He was kind of like awkward and nervous, and now he like thrives on it. He gives some of the best interviews ever. And about this time last year, actually, when he fought Machida, I had the opportunity to play Street Fighter with him, and we filmed it. Unfortunately, that video is no longer on with the company I used to work for. They took down all the videos, which kind of sucks. However, I did keep that video, so I may let it resurface at some point. But yeah, I mean, that was fun. 90% of the people, 99% of the people that are interviewing him leading up to that Machida fight were asking him about the fight and training camp and that. And we touched on that, but why not touch on that while you're trying to, kick my ass in Street Fighter, right? So those are some things where, Gegard's definitely my favorite, just because there's no one like him in the sport, and I've just been such a big fan of his. And plus, that's not a usual answer. Like, a lot of people say, oh, I love John Jones or Conor McGregor. No, it's Gegard Mousasi for me. It's always been that way.
Is there a guy that is tough to interview? For me, I've had opportunity to interview Alistair Overeem 3 different times. Man, he's tough to talk to.
Yes, first of all, he's a tough one.
He stands over you like this, and then he just gives you that look, like look, you're not fighting me, Overeem. just got a couple of questions, but he's hard. So when I run into him, I'll stick the microphone in his face, even though he's tough to interview. But man, he's probably the hardest guy I've had to interview. Is there one of those for you?
Yeah, I think Robbie Lawler's an extremely tough interview to do. Actually, he got mad at me in a media scrum last year before the Askren fight, when literally this is all I asked. And we were talking earlier about, are you worried about what fighters think? So I asked Lawler, this was before the Askren fight, in a media scrum. You can go find it. He gave me the weirdest answer, and I still to this day don't know why he was so upset. But I mentioned to him, I said, if you get past Ben Askren, there was a fight that was rumored with you and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Is that a fight that would interest you? And he interrupted me. He said that fight was never offered. And I said, oh, well, there were reports of it. Oh, the fight was never happening. And then he got mad at me for it. And truthfully, if you go on BJ Penn, they had a report on that fight. So I don't know why that would offend him. Maybe he was cutting weight. I'm not sure, but he gave me the biggest stone cold answer. And I was just and everyone was kind of laughing. And it's I literally just asked a regular question I would ask any other fighter. So he can be difficult. I remember actually interviewing him, I think after that, after the media scrum, just doing a regular interview. And I'm I got to find some angle on this to try and lighten him up a little bit. So I tried to talk about his kid and being oh, you go to Disneyland with him or something, Disney World, being in Florida, whatever, and stuff. And like, he's like, yeah. And like, it's just, some fighters are like that. Hannah Cyphers is another tough interview because she's not very outgoing, but I actually like interviewing her because it makes me work harder and figure out different angles to take with her when I'm doing the interview. Because if you watch like the very first interview I ever did with her to the one I did recently with her, it's very different, and you can just see her getting more comfortable. So I like those interviews where it's a little bit more challenging. But yeah, Lawler was probably one of the toughest ones I've had.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to get through to Reem, because I want a good interview with Reem before I end all this stuff. It's he's a big name.
Get him outside of fight camp. I think that's probably to be honest, too bad he doesn't train in Florida anymore, but I think you'd get some of the best interviews when you go to the gyms. We're talking about hustling. That's something enough reporters don't do, is actually go to the gym. I know we can't do that now with COVID, but some of the best interviews I've had is when I've actually gone to the fighter gym, or like gone when they're not in fight camp, and they're more relaxed. When they're during fight week, they got a fight on Saturday, they're cutting weight. That's why I never do fight week interviews unless I have to. I'm at the event. I will always avoid that. I get it 2-3 weeks out. There's a little tip for your listeners there if you're covering the sport. Don't do fight week interviews. They're terrible. They're cutting weight. They're stressed out. They've got a million things to worry about, medicals, all that stuff. Why get them at their worst when you could get them a few weeks before, when maybe they're about to go watch some Netflix? You grab them before that. It's all good, right? So that's sort of how I like doing things.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that philosophy. I very rarely do an interview during fight week, except with guys that have been on my show, at least 2 times.
You have the rapport, exactly. Yeah.
And I usually don't even get them to like after they've hit the scale on weigh-in day, and then it's usually 10-15 minutes, and it's more of the newer guys, the prospects are just coming in that I do that with. I don't really mess with guys that are seasoned because they've got a routine and everything, but these new guys are experiencing different feelings and a different experience, and I like to share that with the viewer. I like the fans to see that, and honestly, these guys that I talk to them after the shows, they're like, man, it's fun to be able to talk during fight week to somebody that's not ESPN, because I got to be aware of how I speak, and sometimes being aware of how I speak, I don't convey who I am. So I just tell them, come on here, do whatever they want. One of the guy, somebody watching the show, Ben Field, he said, question for both of us is, what is your least favorite part of working in this business? Sorry if it was already covered. I showed up late. And before you answer that, I also go to gyms too. Like I travel fairly frequently down to American Top Team in Coconut Creek. Again, with COVID now, it's a little more difficult, but if I call ahead, they've always, even during COVID, they've said, you come down, because I've always showed them respect, from when Laborio was running the show before Lambert made as much of a presence. So, and I know a lot of guys down there, so I'm fortunate that I built that relationship a long time ago, and I've cultivated it properly. So I show them respect all the time when I'm there, but you got to get out in the gyms. I agree. Those are the interviews. The Overeem interview, the first one though, we were at an award show and we're on the red carpet, and he was up for an award. And he still was just like, going, I was like, son of a...
Yeah. Some fighters don't like doing interviews. Stipe Miocic is the same way. He's getting better, but there's for years, like I've seen Stipe off camera. He's a completely different person, but when that camera goes on, it's like, so just certain fighters are like that. It's just part of their personality.
So for you, what's your least favorite part of working in this business, or if you have one?
So I think I think this is kind of an obvious answer, and I think a lot of my colleagues would agree. Certain managers make things very difficult when they really shouldn't have to. I get it. Fighters are getting hit up a lot when it comes to interviews and things like that, and you need to control that and figure it out. But sometimes it's just a lot of unprofessionalism. I have fighters that flake. I've had it before where like a manager's tried to set up an interview with me, is like asked me to do it. I'm like, sure, no problem, and whatever. And then the fighter flakes, and there's like no accountability. Like that stuff drives me nuts. That happens every now and then, but you just have to be very patient. I think that's one thing that kind of annoys me. And I think another thing, and it's not really anything that people can control, but the whole like, social media thing in terms of like, I see a lot of people kind of, what's the word? Like looking for clout. That's a term the younger kids use, in terms of like trying to get popular and just try and, there's a lot of, just trying to get like the cheap pops and trying to get like, cheap followers and things like that. Like I've never been about that. A lot of the work I try and put out is pretty quality. I'm not going to say stuff to get a rise out of people or to, try and, I find that there's too much of like here's an example. Okay. If I like someone's work, I will read it. I will point out something specific about the work and let them know how good it is. But I feel like there's a lot of people that sort of just suck up to other media members. I don't like that stuff, where it's like you can just tell their angle from a mile away, and it's like, dude, you're just doing this to like get on their good side as opposed to like actually like looking at what it is you like about that. So that's something I don't like. So yeah, managers and the social media sort of clout chasing, as I like to call it, I don't like that stuff either.
Yeah, there are a few managers. I won't mention any names here, but I'm pretty fortunate to have a good relationship with guys at some of the bigger, more prominent agencies. And if I reach out to them and I hit them on the right spot in the right moment, they respond. And if one of their fighters bailed on me for whatever reason didn't show up, they get in touch with me and they say, "Hey, man, sorry about that. Can we reset it?" And I've never had. And then there's one manager who he makes it so difficult to go through the process of just interviewing guys, and some of his guys
probably
are
the same one I'm talking about too. I'll say this. I should say this. Most managers are pretty good. In fact, there's some really good ones. I'll shout out Jason House from Iridium Sports. They're the easiest management company to work with. I wish every management company had a PR person like Ed Cap. I think he's the best in the business. He doesn't. His name doesn't get brought up enough in this industry about the work he's done. I've worked with Ed for years. I owe a lot of my career to Ed, not even just with the work he's done with Iridium, but working for CES, working for a lot of these other promotions. He's the most professional person in this industry and the most easiest to work with. So if I could say one thing, it's that Iridium has set the standard as far as I'm concerned. And like I said, there's other good managements too. Paradigm, Top Game Management. There's a lot of good ones that really are easy to work with, and it should be like that. And if I send an email, they'll reply back. And let's say the fighter's too busy, they'll let me know as opposed to just not replying or whatever. So I like that stuff. But there's some where it's like, are you really there for your fighters if you're trying to protect them from not doing interviews? Like that, I don't get. I'm not asking for the moon. If I'm asking for a prelim fighter and you rep them, it shouldn't be that difficult to get an interview as far as I'm concerned. And there's some other management companies where it's like, there's just no way to get in touch with them to get an interview. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, other than getting the fight set up and the sponsorships, media is part of that. You should have someone facilitating that. That's what I don't understand either.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you brought up Jason House and Iridium and Ed Cap. I got two guests coming on behind you. Louis Cosce coming on tonight and Jeff Molina, and both are Iridium guys. Ed Cap set up the interviews for me. Jason House has always been really, really good to me. I show him respect. I show his fighters respect. I'll show respect to those that deserve it. And Jason looks out for his fighters. He's getting them work. And here we go. There he is. I knew it'd pop up here because you were on the show tonight. Eric Coal, Ed Cap getting love from Lynch.
What's up, Eric?
Ed makes things very easy. And you guys are both right, and my experience is the same. So, he's great. And the one manager, again, I'm not going to say his name, but man, like some of the guys that I want to talk to are guys that I've announced on fight cards, before they made it to the UFC. That I'm,
How about this? How about? And we're probably talking about the same manager. How about the fighter actually likes doing the interview with you? Like it's very obvious. It's not like you're being a burden to them, but for whatever reason, they're trying to prevent that from. I don't get it. To me, it's stupid. If you listen, if you're not Conor McGregor or you're not any of these big name fighters that people are the recognizable. As a fighter, you should be doing as much media as you can because it's free exposure. Amen. And the UFC does not do a good enough job of promoting all their fighters. There's too many on the roster. I mean, it's not even a knock on the UFC. So of course, people are going to get lost in the shuffle. If you have a manager, that manager should include media as part of your agreement because it's easy to do. It gets you more comfortable. You talked about being on the ESPN and not saying the wrong thing. Well, how do you think you do that? You do that by doing reps, by doing the interviews. Tanner Boser is a good example. Tanner Boser is one of my favorite interviews to do. I've interviewed Tanner since he was on the regional scene in Canada, fighting in Edmonton, fighting for Unified. Tanner's a different cat. If you don't know how his personality is, you're going to get buried. I'll tell you who got buried when they interviewed him was Brett Okamoto. And I love Brett, and this is not a knock on him, but he didn't know what was going to happen when he asked Tanner about going down to 205 pounds. Tanner got annoyed with him. But I knew that about Tanner, ages ago because I remember asking him about that, and he's like, "No, it's never going to happen. People are, whatever." And so all these people kept asking him about 205 in that fight he had where he knocked out Felipe Lins because he looked so good because he was in great shape. So of course people would ask that. But if you knew Tanner, if you knew his personality, you knew that you don't ask him that. So I'm just saying that that's just an example of building those relationships and understanding who it is you're dealing with in terms of certain fighters. And again, for the fighters, it's about getting that exposure as well too.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100% on that too. If you're a young fighter coming up and you're trying to put your brand out there, stick your face in front of every microphone and camera that's offered to you because all you're doing is creating more fans, building the brand, and growing your product. So again, that's awesome. Now, I put up a video this morning. I'm going to ask you this, and I told you I'd have you out by 7:30. So this goes. I'm a huge John Jones fan. I have been since before he ever made it to the UFC. I was watching him fight up in New York before he ever hit the big time. I know he's had some run-ins and he's done some stupid stuff, and that's on him. Mm-hmm. But John Jones, the fighter, I'm just a huge fan. Now, John Jones is moving to heavyweight. I did a video this morning about 6 o'clock this morning after thinking all night, and I said, John Jones is. I don't see the challenges other than the heavier guys fighting him, for Jones because of who he is. I don't think Stipe is the most dangerous matchup for him, and I don't think Francis is, because as much as Francis is up here, to me, he's too one-dimensional to deal with a guy like Jones. I said the most dangerous fight that John Jones will face as a heavyweight, and who knows if it's going to happen, but for me, it's a guy who doesn't get enough pop, and he always seems to get looked over, and that's Curtis Blades.
Interesting you say that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Curtis Blades is, to me, the best heavyweight wrestler we've ever seen in MMA. And that's, some people say that's blasphemous because of Daniel Cormier's record and accolades, with Olympic wrestling. But Daniel stopped wrestling in MMA fights a while ago, and he fell in love with his striking. And with Curtis Blades, his striking is improved when he's standing, but it's phenomenal when he's on the ground. But Curtis Blades is going to take you down. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Jones has dealt with anybody as relentless as Blades, my opinion. And I don't even know if Blades could beat him. But I think Blades, to me, right now, is the toughest test out there for Jones. So what I would like from you on your way out the door here is your thoughts on Jones moving to heavyweight, and your thoughts on my assessment of who the toughest matchup is going to be there for him, because I don't think it's Stipe and Francis. So that, and again, that's just me, it's just my opinion. Curtis Blades is the guy that I think will give him the most trouble.
First off, I want to give you a shout out for acknowledging Curtis Blades, because I agree with you. I think people, for whatever reason, and then this whole narrative of he's a boring fighter, it drives me nuts. He had one fight where he couldn't finish a guy who's been finished one time in the UFC in Volkov, and all of a sudden he's a boring fighter. I seem to remember him finishing Junior Dos Santos and the Russian guy whose last name I can't pronounce, and Overeem. Like there's all these guys too that he's finished. So this idea that he can't do it. So I'm glad to hear that, because I think Curtis is completely overlooked in that division. I agree with you to a certain extent. So I agree with you as far as Blades is wrestling, and the fact that Jones will be fighting guys that are about his size, if not bigger. I mean, Curtis is a big heavyweight, and he can use his wrestling, and he's fast. And the one thing with Curtis that we've seen a significant improvement in the UFC is his conditioning. If you look at Curtis Blades from his very first fight in the UFC when he fought Ngannou the first time to seeing his physique now, it's night and day. He's way faster than he used to be. He's really made that a priority with him, and I think Overeem being at his camp has also helped him as well too. So I agree with you in terms of the style matchup would be very interesting. The one thing I do slightly disagree with you with is the Francis fight, because the one thing I do question is Jones able to take a Francis Ngannou punch. Curtis Blades couldn't. There's certain fighters who Stipe could take it, but that's the question. Jones has never really been hit like that. He's fought guys like Glover who do have knockout power. He's fought guys like Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos, but Ngannou striking I think is even further up in terms of power. So that's where I do wonder, can he take a Francis punch? If not, then yeah, you're right. Jones with his wrestling, with his abilities, it could be very interesting for Francis, because the sample size of what we have for Ngannou for the most part is him knocking guys out. It's no different than Rumble Johnson. And look, Daniel Cormier showed with Rumble Johnson, if you can survive that punch, you can take him down and choke him out, right? So that could potentially happen here with Ngannou as well. The Stipe fight, it's tough, because Stipe, again, I didn't think he was going to beat Cormier for this the second time, but or third time, sorry. He ended up doing that, so I'll never count him out against Jones either. The only thing with him is his age. He's hitting 40, so that's a little bit more interesting. But the other thing I'll mention too is I think the move for Jones is purely money. As far as competitiveness at 205 pounds, he had a close fight with Thiago Santos, had a close fight with Dominic Reyes. You could run those back. There's also the Jan Blachowicz fight, who's definitely earned himself a title shot as well. This is why he's getting to fight Reyes. So I think those would have been interesting matchups, but it's all about money. The bigger money fights for him are at heavyweight. Ngannou is a bigger name than anyone at 205. Curtis Blades, in my opinion, is a bigger name than anyone at 205. You've got, Stipe. These are all bigger names, and that's what it comes down to. Jones has been in the sport for long enough. There's a loyalty there to the UFC with, I'm sure, them sticking by him, and also with the UFC, he's been one of their biggest superstars. So for him, it comes down to money, and that's why he's going to heavyweight. Nothing more than that. It's got nothing to do with competitiveness or whatever. It all comes down to money, and the bigger money fights are there. So as far as Curtis being the worst matchup, I'll go about with you 70%, but I still think Ngannou, if he could clip Jones, that would be very interesting. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and with Ngannou, I think you can't knock out what you can't hit, and I don't think Jones is going to stand in front of him knowing the power that he brings. Jones is going to stand in and out. His footwork is going to be the best in the heavyweight division. He's going to be faster and lighter. So interesting matchups ahead. I like that. So now I told you a few minutes ago, I'm going to ask you to, and I hope you're not the first one to say no. And while you're thinking about singing, I'm going to bring in my next guest to welcome him in. I don't know if you've met him before. He just won a fight on the Contender Series. I don't remember if you've interviewed him, because you do a lot of interviews, but him and his brother both won the same night.
I interviewed them together, actually, both of his brothers. So
I wanted to get them both on tonight. Ed couldn't get me both, but we got one half. We got the younger brother, so we're going to bring him in right now because I'm sure he'll enjoy listening to you sing. So we're going to welcome Louis Cosce. Louis, how are you,
Louis?
Good, but
And as you can see, I got Mr. James Lynch with me. We're doing an interview with him. And I'm glad I brought you in now because what I'm going to do is I ask all my guests first time on the show to sing something. So James is getting ready to finish his interview. So hopefully he's going to sing a little something for us. And just know that at the end of your interview, I'm going to ask you to sing something too, just because my fans love the goofiness of, something different from a fighter. So James, what you got for us? You got a little ditty for us? It could be a commercial, a TV show. I don't care what it is.
I'm a proud Canadian, Chris, so I got to sing our national anthem here because I know you guys both don't know it here. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all our sons command. That's all you're getting.
That's all I need. That was awesome.
There you go. You guys learned something today. I bet you didn't know that anthem. Let's be honest here.
I know the anthem. I've watched hockey my whole life, so I've been,
You a hockey fan, Chris? Are you Lightning or Panthers?
Well, I'm actually a New York Islanders fan. I grew up in New York, so
you must be. There's a kid from where I live in Vancouver, Barzell. He's lighting up for them. I'm a big hockey fan. But speaking of which, before I leave, go Canucks, go! I'm a Canucks fan. Obviously, it's an elimination game tonight, so hopefully they can pull it together and make this a real series. I hope it goes 7 because they've been surprising everyone this year. Go Canucks! Yeah. That's all I got to say.
The Lightning have done a great job in the playoffs.
They killed the Bruins. By the way, thank you for that. I love the fact that the Bruins are out. I hate the Bruins.
Yeah, everybody that's a hockey fan hates the Bruins. It's funny. Before you go though, James, if it's cool with you, which I'm sure it'll be, for those that are watching, go ahead and just drop, where we can catch your work, on a regular right now that you're doing stuff and, your social media. I want people to follow you that aren't already because, a couple of comments I got on here too. Jacob Kilburn fought with us at Island Fights. He's in the UFC right now. He said, he goes, he loves you because you're not a sleaze.
Thank you, Jacob. You're not a sleaze either, so I appreciate that. Easiest thing for your audience, honestly. You see the Twitter handle on there at Lynch on Sports. Twitter, Instagram, same handle. YouTube channel, same thing. YouTube.com/Lynch on Sports. I keep it simple for you guys. Thanks for having me on, Chris. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to this interview. So,
hey, thanks for doing it, man. Like I said, I don't reach out to a lot of media guys. So
anytime.
I do appreciate it, man. Your aces in my book. Always be a fan. Even though, we're doing the same thing, it's cool. I can be a fan of people because I learn stuff from watching some interviews you do or reading some of your writing. Sometimes I learn from everybody. So I'm never afraid to learn. So, congratulations on your success and your family and, being able to do it your way. Appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mr. James Lynch. Catch him at Lynch on Sports. And he's going to be signing off. He's got, hockey to go watch. So, boom. Ladies and gentlemen, now joining us on the show, officially, we're going to welcome him in. He's represented by Iridium, Jason Howes, Ed Cap, all those guys over there. Him and his brother, history-making appearance on Dana White's Contender Series. Both brothers went on the show. Both brothers got contracts. And this is the younger brother, Lewis. His brother, Orion, also got a contract. But first of all, let me say welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time to do this, man. Honored to have you on. So tell us for you. Start out before we go into the deep part of the interview. Life has changed for everybody with the COVID. It really has. People have had to adjust their lives tremendously. So give us just a short. What was your life like before COVID? A day of training and doing what you're supposed to do, and how did it change after this all started, or did it change at all? Because for some people, it didn't.
I come from a small town, so it kind of just really affected the times. Honestly, we don't really have that too many people anyways. And then the Emma team, everybody kind of had their own personal issues and stuff. So it didn't really affect my time. It kind of affected my training partners here and there. It just made it less, But my coaches are still there the whole entire time with me. I still train twice a day. So it was good.
So no real changes. You just were able to kind of live your life the way you were. Nothing major out of, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish mine was that way. So, you and your brother, you grew up on an Indian reservation, and I was doing a little digging into the backstory, and, even some of the stuff they were talking about on the Contender Series, about that you guys were kind of bullied, you were the white kids on the reservation and people screwed with you guys. And that, your parents sometimes weren't around. I mean, so you guys really learned how to be men from each other, is what I gather, and growing up in a tough life. And I don't want to dig too deep in that because I know you get asked these questions all the time, so you don't have to go real deep. But just give us a little sample of how tough it was for you and your brother growing up, being I guess the outcast on the reservation, because that has to be hard to deal with.
It wasn't really of an outcast. I mean, it's bold by this is like the other kid stuff, you know. Kids are always gonna say harsh stuff. So, I mean, there was a little bit bullying here and there, but as the years went on, that stuff started dying, and I definitely wasn't getting fucking punked out in school. That's for sure. High school or nothing like that.
Yeah, and you know, they mentioned something about, you know, your parents not being around. Was that hard on you guys to try to, you know, raise yourself up? Because my you know, I grew up, my father wasn't around when they got divorced, and my mother was working all the time. So I kind of lived that life. You know, it was me, my sister, my brother, and we had to figure out everything on our own, which made us tougher people, you know, made us, you know, independent. So that was good. But it still hurt. So was that kind of the same for you? Your folks weren't around, you know, you had to find a way, but it hurt.
They're kind of like running around doing their own stuff, honestly. But we was too young to even like kind of recognize it, you know, to see what was right and wrong. I didn't know it was like that wrong, that bad until I could look at it now. I definitely wouldn't ditch my kid like the way they did, that's for sure. But it is what it is, honestly. It happens, and there ain't no taking it back.
Yeah, and that's true. And like I said, I don't need to go into your past, you know, big deep into your history. I like to ask a few questions because, you know, people want to know. So now let's talk about making history, because this is fucking, dude. I'm watching the show that night, and you know, I look at the lineup, and I knew the lineup coming in. I'm like, man, can you imagine if both these fucking crazy Cosce brothers both get contracts tonight? That's exactly what I said. My wife was sitting there watching on the couch with me. My wife, I've turned her into an MMA fan, so she loves it. And I referred to you exactly like I said it, and that's why I said that. Can you believe if these fucking crazy Cosce brothers? Because I've seen you guys fights, and you guys, yeah, I don't get scared of fighters because, you know, I work around fighters all the time. I'm a ring announcer myself. Plus, you know, I do interviews with, you know, top level guys all the way down to the bottom level. But there was something about you guys. I saw, I can't remember the video, but I saw a video of you guys talking about fighting after a fight on a regional show. And you guys, honestly, I'm just going to tell you, you scared the shit out of me. And that's when I said, these are the crazy Cosce brothers. You're smiling right now, but you guys are very serious about your fighting game. You're going out there to hurt people. You're going out there to finish people. And when you describe it, like I'm sitting there listening to it, and the hairs on my arms start standing up. You and your brother both, man. And it's cool because I like that, because that gets me excited about you guys fighting. Where did that come from? Because and you know, the whole, you know, I'm just gonna fuck you. I just say it. I'm here to fuck you up, you know, and that's what you're here to do. Some guys don't want to say it, you know, like, but you guys, like, some of your commentaries I've listened to, you're all about the violence and finishing somebody off, man. I believe, if I'm correct, and I get you and your brother confused, but you've had all your fights, all finishes, including on the Contender Series. You've never had a decision, and you hurt people. I mean, let's just be real, and you're in the hurt business, you know. So, but where does that come from? Is that something that you guys just always had, or is that something you kind of said, you know, I got to build a brand about myself, and this is going to be my brand?
Probably have to credit my dad for that one. He's kind of grew up street fighting and stuff. When I heard his stories, he kind of made it clear that was the whole point of the fight, you know. Because there is no judges on the street. You kind of want to just get it done and try not to get hurt while you're doing it. So I might have just took that into my head and just took this in the whole fighting game. Because if you let it go to the judges, and if it's a close fight, you never know who's going to go to and whatnot. But, I mean, if you just crush somebody in the first or just knock them out, I ain't not going to the judges. That's for damn sure. So,
yeah, you're not getting paid by the hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to get in and get out, you know, go have a beer after the fight. That's quick. So again, going back to the history, you guys both got on the show. You both won contracts. What was it like for you sitting backstage watching your brother? Because he went out first, and he got his fight, and he did a great job. You know, he looked crisp in every aspect of the game. But what's it like for you? And I'm sure you guys, you know, fought and watched each other fight, but this was different. This was game-changing, life-changing moment for both of you. You're sitting in the back warming up. What are you thinking watching your brother out there? Were you nervous for him, or were you kind of so zoned in on your fight that it didn't really affect you?
No, I was more happy that we're there in the moment, you know, like we're finally there fighting on these little shows and stuff. Because, I mean, been making the big show for a while. So when I actually got there, I remember watching the first round. I kind of like stargazed off there for a minute and got like a surreal moment, just kind of like gazing there. That I was like, oh shit, we're actually here. But no, for the most part, I thought I stayed pretty calm. I was keeping my nerves down because I knew I had to fight right after him. But when he won, I definitely did get pumped up. That's for sure.
What do you think when you guys are sitting back there and Dana started handing out the contracts, and he was a little upset with your brother, say that he kind of took like 10 seconds off or 3 seconds off.
Yeah.
I went back and watched the fight a few times after, and I think what happened was, and maybe I'm wrong, but it sounded like somebody clapped the block before the clock actually was supposed to, go like somebody on the side. Sometimes your coach hits on the thing. But I think that's what happened to both of them, because both guys, it wasn't just your brother. They both kind of, all right, cool.
Yeah, they both stopped. Yeah, I noticed that. I think someone said time at the 3rd second mark, or the second mark. It sounded like someone said time.
Yeah,
but
there was a knock, and then somebody said time, but
they both stopped, and they just like touched left.
I thought it was cool. I mean, I thought there was respect between fighters. Dana got a little upset, man. I saw your brother's face go from.
Yeah,
all right,
like that.
So, yeah, that was a crazy moment. And then, of course, when we saw you fight, there was no doubt you were getting in. For me, there was no doubt your brother was getting in that night too. I think Dana sometimes like to pick on a little thing to get your attention, to let you know that he is watching. So now Dana announces you're both in the UFC. Before, and they rush you right over. So you're sitting in the chair, and they rush you over. They say, "Come on, you're in." And you go over and interview with Laura Sanko, and then you go off and do your thing. After that moment where you both interview with Laura Sanko, and you walked off camera, what was the first thing you said to each other? Just brother to brother, not fighter to fighter, just family to family. You guys are definitely, like I said, tough upbringing. You guys have been grinding hard. What was the first thing you said to each other?
I think I said, "Good shit, brother," and just like the fact that we made it. Fuck, it's been a long ride, bro. It's been since we started out just wrestling and shit. I've had dreams of being in the UFC ever since I was a little kid. So when I finally got that and I seen him have his, it was just like, it was cool that we got to share the moment together, instead of being like on 2 separate nights or some bullshit or however it went. But we got to experience it together. So I thought that was really cool. The fact that we've been chasing something so long.
Yeah, I like I said, that's history making. There's never been a pair of siblings on there to go on at the same night and win contracts, and doing the fashion you guys did. You guys are, like I said, you're scary individuals. The funny thing I thought was, they were talking about, you guys were talking in an interview about welterweight and lightweight. And your brother's like, he goes, we could do welterweight. He's gonna stay at lightweight. I'm gonna do welterweight. I go up to 185. He go down to 1. You guys are like saying you're just going to take over every fucking division in the UFC, and I love that enthusiasm about it. But do you feel like he said he's going to be up at 170, and he said and I believe you said too 155 is where you're going to hang out for right now while your brother's up at 170. Is that by design? Did you guys talk about that beforehand? If you got your contracts, one of you is going to go this way and one is going to go here, so as not to have the conversation pop up. Oh, we got to have the Cosce brothers fight.
I actually might stick around at 170 for a couple fights. I think 2 fights or so to make my way down to 55. I started my career at 55. It was just the cut was pretty gnarly, and I was doing it by myself. So I fucking still feel uneducated about the whole weight cut thing. I thought I did everything right last time, and fuck, when I felt it in the fight, I felt it.
The weight cut.
What is it?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, but when I bumped up to 170, I haven't experienced no fatigue, like no signs of really anything. The energy is awesome. The strength feels good. So that's kind of the main reason I've been sticking around welterweight for.
Well, and again, now that you're in the UFC and you have access to the Performance Institute, you're going to be able to learn a lot about how to properly prepare your body. If 155 is where you decide you want to go because you don't want to be in the same division as your brother, and you'll get the proper nutrition tips, proper exercise tips on how to build strength without depleting your body, even during the weight cut. And for guys like you just said, that last, the weight cut's tough, but 170, you feel smooth, you feel happy, you feel green, you're like, all right, let's go do this shit. So it'll be interesting to see you down at 155, because even after you hit the scale at 55 and you rehydrate, you're going to come in big. You'll be a big 155. And there's a lot of guys in there who I believe, might not want to get in there with you. No, I don't know if any fighter will say it. I don't want to get in there with Cosce. I don't want to get in there with either Cosce brother. But the reality is, there's some guys that people don't want to fight. Jeff Neal, he's in the UFC now. He came through the Contender Series. He's having a hard time finding fights. For right now, you guys, I don't think you'll have a problem finding fights because they're going to book you guys accordingly. But I said something the night you guys won. I was talking with, I think I did a show after. I believe that you two can be this generation's version of the Diaz brothers. And when I say that, not some of the dumb shit that they do. They're good fighters and everything. I don't know if they're great fighters. Some people think they're great fighters. I never thought they were great. I thought they were really good fighters. Their personality, the way they are, they're just them. And I see that with you and your brother. You're just going to be yourselves. But I think you guys are more talented than the Diaz brothers at the same stage of life. And that's no knock on them. Those guys, they broke ground for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But you guys, and the era of life has changed with the way social media is and the internet. And you guys are both good-looking dudes. You got your life together. You're fighters, and you're violent. And people love the violence. They want to see you beat the shit out of people. Because we can't do that in everyday life and not get in trouble. Street fights. There's a price to pay. You guys really have an opportunity to do something phenomenal in the UFC. And I know you just got there, but are these things that you guys have thought about, like you and your brother talk and say, you know what, we could be the next version? And I don't want to say that you're trying to emulate the Diaz brothers, because that's not what I'm getting at. But, anything you can use to brand yourself and grow your brand and popularity, which helps you make money to take care of your family. And it's a natural thing because you're brothers. That's a gimmick you don't even have to work at. This is what you are. You take advantage of it, in my opinion. So you guys talk about that and how to properly brand yourself as individuals, but also as the Cosce brothers.
Yeah. Now, we've definitely been talking and working on it for sure. Still get a couple fights to get our name out there. I think once our names really get out there and stuff, and we get a couple fights under the banner, I think that's when shit's gonna start kicking off. I mean, the Contender Series win was good, but it wasn't under the UFC banner. It's kind of just to get in. So I think as soon as we get fucking a couple good wins and fucking some eyes on us, I think things are gonna start kicking off really well.
See, and I know the people that represent you already. I mean, Jason House is his head's spinning all the time, and he's working all the time. Looking for opportunities for his fighters to make money. And I automatically see you guys doing double mint commercials, even though you're not twins. You're brothers. And you look enough at the double mint where they have the people, the family. Hey, double mint twins. Blah blah blah. Silly things like that. I see fighters and I go, oh, this would be a good product for them, and this would be good for them because I want to see you guys prosper and thrive and make lots of money and when I say this, I don't want people to get offended. The UFC pays what the UFC pays. That's it. That going in, this is what they're paying. To escalate and elevate your money, you have to go out there and beat the crap out of people and do it in an exciting fashion where people watch. If you're doing that, you're going to make more money. If you're not, then you're not. I mean, that's just it. So having that ability to go out there like you guys do and just finish fights and win fights and fight and do all that, but being good looking and brandable and marketable and having the brother gig, you guys really do have an opportunity to probably become two of the biggest stars in this new generation. Because, I think we're at the point where we're starting to see guys, move out and the next generation, the next wave of MMA fighter come in. And this next wave, is going to be more talented and more successful than the previous wave because guys like you, you're still young and you've been training to be a fighter, where some guys, they got into this late. They were wrestlers and then, they were, 18 years old. So let me learn some jujitsu. Let me learn how to throw hands. But you've been doing that shit your whole life. So the evolution of the athlete now is different. And you guys are in that wave, guys like you, all the guys are coming through Contender Series. Jeff Molina, who's a Iridium guy also. My boy, Impa Kasanganay, who's going to be on later tonight. He won his contract. And he's been doing MMA for 2.5 years. Now he's a phenom. He's one of those special guys that, he's just an athlete, always has been, and he caught on well. There's other guys that train forever and, they did one sport and then they're trying to get there. You guys are well-rounded. I've watched, I've gone back and watched videos. You guys are well-rounded. Like I said, man, I'm just blowing your head up, man, because you guys kick ass. It's just what it is. And I'm going to look back one day at this interview and you guys are going to be huge stars. And I'm going to be like, I remember when I talked to Lewis about this, 10 years ago, and now look at this guy. He's got his own jet. His brother's got his own jet. They're flying around doing crazy shit. But because they put in the work back then, so your journey to the UFC started, years ago, and now you're here. And I'm very happy for you and your brother. I'm happy that you got a good management company behind you because that's really important. And you got that big smile on your face right now. I think you froze. Did you freeze? You might have froze. Yeah, I think you froze up, but there you. Sometimes it happens, So before I let you go, there's two things I want to know from you.
Yeah.
When you sat by yourself, not with your brother, after all this was over, you got your contract and everything, and you had a moment to sit by yourself, not with your family, kids, and nobody else, just you. In your heart, in your head, what was that feeling? Was it relief? Was it joy? Was it, did you want to cry a little bit because you achieved something? And if you say you wanted to cry a little bit, tears of joy, nothing wrong with that. And even if somebody has something to say, you'll just kick their ass for making fun of you for crying. So. But was there that moment for you where you just went inside your own head and yourself and you had that moment of serenity?
Yeah, I talk to myself a lot, honestly. But it was just a huge relief, bro. I was just super happy. First of all, I was just stoked to be there and getting the opportunity during these fucking crazy ass times. And Jason presented it to me, did everything he said, fucking dream come true, And after it's all said and done, we both won. I mean, it couldn't have gone better. I was just happy about everything. Fucking, it was just a huge relief. Think about when I was a kid and shit, fucking trying to get here, fucking not knowing if I was gonna be here. To a couple of years ago, I didn't think I was gonna be fighting anymore. Then here I am now. So getting a chance and opportunity to change my life and my son's for the better and chase the dream and fucking compete with the best. So pretty just stoked about all of it. Just the whole entire fucking, just gonna ride it out,
Yeah. I'm sitting here and during this whole interview, the thing you just said to me, that, you didn't know if you were going to be fighting a couple of years ago, and, you went through some tough times in life. And, I'm a very emotional human being. Sometimes I'll be watching a stupid old sitcom and, I see a family, solve a problem and I get a tear in my eye. I don't know why. It's just the way it's always been. But hearing you talk and I can hear it in your voice, how appreciative you are of this moment in life and this moment in time and sharing it with your brother and being there for each other your whole lives. This is just a culmination. And this is just the funny part is, everybody always talks about the journey to get to the UFC, but that ain't the journey. The journey is staying in the UFC because it's harder to stay there than it is to get there. I don't see you and your brother having a problem staying there based on what I've seen and saw, seen and spoken with you. And I think you guys are going to be around for a long time, making a lot of money and putting a smile on a lot of fans' faces. My show. Yeah, no, listen, man. You already know, man. You don't want to be cocky, but you're here. You know why you're here, and you're going to go out there and do what you do. And we're all, we're going to be witnesses. That Nike commercial, be a witness. All right. So I'm going to witness the Cosce brothers. I'm going to call them the crazy Cosce brothers because I think they're a little bit crazy, but it's crazy cool, not crazy like psycho crazy. Although maybe that's true. I don't know. I don't know you well enough, so. And one other thing, tell me a funny story about your brother, like from any time in life, something funny that would just make us all laugh, that would surprise us. Like does he like to listen to Britney Spears or something we wouldn't expect? And that's right. I'm asking you to break brother code. I do it to my brother all the time. Somebody asks me something stupid, I'll rat him out for dumb shit.
Shit, I can't think of anything on top of my head at the minute, bro. If you would ask me something, if you asked me beforehand, I would have thought.
Yeah, you're just protecting him. It's all right, bro. It's okay. I feel it. You're protecting him.
If we talk again, I'll definitely think of that one.
Because he probably would have done the same thing if he was on. All right. Yeah. So before we let you go, you heard me have James Lynch do it. Now I've had over 200 guests on my show, and I've never had one say no. So I don't want it to be you to be the first one to say no. So my fans love it.
I can't sing at all.
Hey, listen, you don't have to be able to sing. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to do it. I mean, the first time you tried to, do something in fighting, you probably weren't good at it. Maybe if you practice singing, maybe you become a singing star too. They just add to the brand of the Cosce brothers, the Cosce brothers band. I mean, it could be a CD. So, like I said, you can sing "Happy Birthday" to you. You could sing a Christmas song, and like James Lynch did, you don't even have to do a whole song. But just give me a little something. And the reason I ask guys to do this because the fans identify with things like this because they can already see watching you that you don't want to sing. And it makes you a little uncomfortable, and that makes them feel like you're human. And listen, this is true. It makes the fans feel like you're just as human as they are because you do something that a lot of us would love to do as a fighter. And none of it, there's a very few of you that can do it at the level. 500 people in the UFC. There's a bunch of regional shows, but there's 500 people in the UFC, the top of the top, the best of the best, and so everybody can't do it. So this is a way for fans to feel close to their fighters and So, and you can rap if you want to rap. You can freestyle, spit lyrics. Like I said, whatever it is, just give us a little something, a little side of Lewis that we wouldn't normally see anywhere else.
Shoot, I don't know I don't got anything. I'm definitely not a singer, bro. I can't think of anything.
Well, wasn't it just your brother's birthday, or was it your birthday?
It was just my birthday.
Okay, that's what I thought. So, sing "Happy Birthday" to you to yourself.
Happy birthday to you.
No, you gotta go. Happy birthday to me.
To me, yeah. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Lewis. You made it to the UFC.
Oh, a little freestyle mix. See, that's what I'm talking about. You do have something in there, bro. And these little moments like this, listen, I'm going to tell you, James Lynch and I were talking about it. One of the reasons I love doing my show is because I get to talk to guys like you who are, on the come up. And now your life is going to change. You're going to be doing bigger interviews in front of bigger things. And the key thing that Lynch and I both agreed on is being comfortable in front of the camera. So, and sometimes people are going to surprise you with a question, and you got to be able to react just like you would in a fight. Somebody surprises you with a head kick. Oh shit, I didn't expect that. But you're there, after, or, somebody tries to get you in a choke, put the phone booth up, I'm on the phone, get the fuck off my head, shit like that. So that's just a little lesson that I provide to fighters to give them a little more. Be comfortable, be yourself. Don't ever be afraid to say, whatever in front of a camera, even if it is ESPN. Just be you. Hey, what's up? That's your boy, right?
Yeah, that's my boy.
How you doing, little guy, man? Nice to see you. How proud of your daddy are you? That proud. He's like you. He's man a few words. I'm just letting you know. And he looks like he's a tough kid too, so that's awesome. Well, listen, Lewis, before you jump out, if you want to tell everybody how to keep up with you on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff, feel free to let them know. And if you want to shout out any sponsors or anybody in your life, feel free. And and before you do that, I just want to say honored, to have you on the show. I appreciate the guys at Iridium for making this interview possible. As soon as you want, I reached out to Jason. I'm like, Jason, I got to have these guys on my show. I got to have them on my show. He goes, I'll make it happen. So we got half of you. We'll get your brother on another day too. But
thank you.
Really cool to meet you like this. One day we'll meet in person. So, but go ahead and shout out your sponsors and all the people that you want to shout out to love to.
My @ is Lewis Cosce 707. That's for Instagram and Twitter, and then Lewis Cosce just for Facebook and stuff. And then Get Right, Royal Chiropractic, and pretty much just everybody back at home in Humboldt County that supports me. My coaches, Brian Wilson and Brian Blackburn, my teammates, Lost Boys, everybody got me ready for that fight and for these upcoming fights too. My brother Ryan, my family, my girlfriend, my son. Shout out to everybody back in Humboldt. Much love.
Well, listen, man, thank you again for taking time. Honored to have you on here, and hopefully we'll have you on again soon. We'll be watching your journey close. You're definitely a fighter that people should watch. And now you're going to show the world why you and your brother, well, just for you, you're going to show the world why they need to watch you. And if they got a little taste of it on the Contender. And I can't wait to see what's next for you, man. Be well, stay safe. God bless you and your family.
All right, brother. Take care.
Yep. Peace, peace. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the man himself, Lewis Cosce, part of the Crazy Cosce brothers. Like I said that honestly. I would watch this fight and go, the Crazy Cosce brothers are going to get a fucking contract. Holy shit, that's crazy. But we're going to bring on another guy. He's also represented by Iridium and Jason House and those guys over there. Great people. This is a guy I've seen fight, before he ever got to the Contender Series. In my build up to him, I was talking about him in my description online. This guy is a technician that a lot of guys aren't. He's really well-rounded in every aspect of the game, and he comes to fight. And if you saw him walking down the street, if I saw this guy walking down the street, I would never suspect it because he just looks like such a chill, humble cat. But then, ding, ding goes the bell, and out comes this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, brand new UFC fighter, Mr. Jeff Molina. Jeff, how are you, sir?
I'm good, brother. What an intro. Thank you.
Yeah, listen, I just call it like I see it, man. It's not an ass-kiss move because you're on my show. It's real. I've watched you fight before you got the Contender Series, and something I've noticed about you was just you are really technically sound in the whole area of the game. Like I was saying to Lewis Cosce, there's a wave of fighters coming through right now, your age and his age and everything, that have really been working at being an MMA fighter, not being a wrestler transitioning or not being a karate guy transitioning. You've been working on the whole sport from, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all of it, pretty much the whole time since you started training. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing this evolution of fighter come through that are more talented than their predecessors. And it's not because those guys weren't good. It's because they started in one discipline and then they had to add the others. You've been doing all of these disciplines for as long as I can go back and look at the history of your fight career. So you're ready for this, man. You are octagon ready. It's funny because I'm saying it and it almost looks like you want to go, yeah, I'm fucking octagon ready, but you're so composed and you're so professional in there. That's the other part of you. Your fight looked like, when I was watching your Fight on Contender series, it looked like you were, a 10-fight UFC veteran already, like just the way you carried yourself. So I wanted to throw those compliments out there before we got into questions. The first question I wanted to ask you was, COVID. Tell us a day in the life of Jeff before COVID, and, how you lived your life, training and all that stuff, and then tell us how COVID affected you. And then we'll get into all the other fight questions. But this is something I've been asking, just a general question to every fighter or every person on the show, because some people have really crazy stories how it affected them, and then some people go, I didn't do anything different. I just trained every fucking day, and now I'm fighting people.
Yeah. First off, thanks, Chris. I think you're pretty spot on. Just the evolution of the sport. I think I am that new breed you were talking about. As far as COVID, didn't really affect me, man. Pre-COVID, it was eat, sleep, train. That's what I did every day. And same thing during COVID. Didn't really affect me. I think when you want something that bad, you'll find a way to make it happen. So our gym didn't really shut down. It kind of shut down to the general public, but we it was like Fight Club rules, right? I'm breaking the number one rule right now by talking about it, but we
it's okay. Nobody's listening anyway. You're good.
No one's listening. We had a small group of guys. They were all quarantining, so we were doing it right. But yeah, it was strange, man. Like having to park in different areas, and it was a small group of guys, and we made sure to get the work in, and we never really stopped training. Like I mentioned earlier, when you want something that bad, you'll find a way to make it happen. And don't get me wrong, we were forced to kind of do some garage workouts and garage mitt work and stuff like that. So we just kind of had to adjust. But as far as stopping training, that was never a thing.
What about regular life? Besides training, I mean, because and I don't know this, and part of me for not knowing, but there's guys that are getting into the UFC. Some of them have been able to be fortunate and be able to fight full time even before they get there, but most of them have jobs. I believe you work as a. Hold on. My brain's accessing the data.
I'm sure you got a lot of information up there, Chris.
I do, man. Sometimes it makes my head hurt. I go, what the fuck, man?
You want me to help you out?
Wait, hold on. Is it parking meters in Deer Park? No, that's not you. No. All right. My brain's farting. Go ahead. Help me out.
I do personal training, and then I also work part-time at T-Mobile.
Selling phones.
It's funny. A couple people from my gym and my coach, James Krause, actually, before he was fighting or as he was fighting as an amateur and then starting out as a pro, he did the same job. So I think that's kind of funny and
following in his
fun
footsteps.
Coincidence there. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I've told people this before. I don't think I've ever said to anybody on the show, I've talked to fighters off the air. They always go, well, I got to have a backup job or something. I always say there's a couple of jobs you can get into that we're always going to need. Working at a funeral parlor, which nobody wants to do, and selling phones. That's it. Those two jobs are like weatherproof, life-proof, death-proof. I mean, that's the world we live in. Also, maybe being a barista, because apparently, drinking coffee is, a thing to do. I don't drink coffee, so I don't know.
You don't drink coffee? Man. You're a rare breed, too.
I'm a weird. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink alcohol. So,
okay.
But I'll smoke some.
On the second one.
Yeah, I smoke weed. That's my thing. I got a script for it. I'm old. I'm whatever. You mentioned one of your coaches, James Krause. One of my favorite fighters as a fan. I've reached out. I've never actually got to interview him. He's one of the guys on my list. I'll one of these days I'll track him down. But the way he fights, the style, the dedication that he has to the sport is what attracted me to him. When I was watching your Fight on Contender series, I can't remember who was commentating and saying, but one of them said, even some of his moves look like Jeff Krause, just a smaller version, and does that make you feel good, or do you go like, man, I don't want to be referred to as the mini James Krause. I want to be referred to as Jeff Molina. And I'm not saying that to stir feathers, but I heard that, and that was the first thing I thought of when they said that. Like, this guy's trying to create his own identity, and while he has some of the moves that his coach has, because that's his coach, and obviously it's going to you want people to remember you as you, not James Krause's student. And I know you want to, and I say that where you want to be recognized. You want to give accolades to your coach because he helped you get here. But on the same note, you have to be recognized for you, and you don't really want commentators going, "Hey, look, he looks just like James. Look, he looks just like James," because that's not being fair to you and showing what you do. You learn from a great guy, So I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I hope I pontificated that properly.
Yeah. Honestly, I love it, man. That's a compliment to me. I'll take it. You always hear like emulate the greats, and that's what I did since I started out in the sport, right? And obviously, every fighter's different. It's mixed martial arts, so it's an art. So everyone has their own little spin on things, but that's how most people start, is by emulating the greats. And to me, James is one of those greats. He's a Kansas City legend. Even before I started training with him, when I was with a different gym, I try to steal things from him, from his fights. I remember when I was like 16 or 17, I had a kickboxing fight. And this is prior again to training with James. He was actually the referee for that kickboxing fight. And when I saw he was the ref, I didn't know he was the ref till like 30 minutes before the fight. But when I saw he was the ref, James used to throw a bunch of cartwheel kicks back in the UFC when he started his career in the UFC. Yep. And I was like, I have to throw a cartwheel kick in the fight. So I think it was the second round. I threw a cartwheel kick, and it sort of landed. It hit kind of the top of the head, but I had to do it just to, like, as a props to James, Yeah, I've always looked up to James, and I think that's kind of why we mesh so well, and why I'm able to take so much from him, is our styles are very similar. Just kind of the slick striking, kind of finding our swag. We do a lot of things similar, but yeah, I'm my own fighter, but I do take a lot from James, and to me that's a compliment, so I'll take that all day. Just don't compare me to anybody that sucks.
So in other words, we don't want to hear the CM Punk comparison.
Don't compare me to CM Punk or Mickey Gall.
Hey, so when you said that up until 30 minutes before that kickboxing match, you didn't know that Krause was going to be your referee. And you're young, you're 16, 17. Did you fanboy on the referee a little bit?
Yeah, for sure, man. Another fun story.
Did he fanboy in front of him? Like, did you be like, holy shit, it's James Krause?
No, I'm pretty good about not fanboying. I'll leave the fanboying like inside. You hear it a lot, like act like you've been here. So I try to do that, but sometimes I do fanboy. Last week in Vegas, I saw Frank, and I did fanboy a little bit. Man, that's someone I've looked up to for a long time. But Krause, Frankie Edgar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Krause being my referee was pretty cool. After my very first fight, it was a kickboxing fight as well. It was at the Whiskey Tango, like a hillbilly bar in Green Valley.
Oh, yeah.
I had just turned 16 a couple of weeks prior. James was actually in attendance. I think he was cornering a fighter. And that's when I fanboyed out, when I first met him. And I got a picture with him. I still had braces on. I was still looking like a kid. That picture's actually on my Instagram, but that was after my very first fight.
That's awesome.
So that's when I fanboyed out.
Hey, listen, listen, I don't have a problem with athletes fanboying over other athletes, because, fuck, man, you respect what they all do. I mean, watch the NBA All-Star game, when they're doing the dunk tournament, and you see all the players on the sideline jumping up and throwing scores and losing their mind over every dunk. That's fanboying at its finest, and it's out there in front. So never be afraid to fanboy for those that, you're a fan of. Fuck it, man.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. For me, it's hard in media. I try not to fanboy, especially publicly, but, I have a few that I'm fanboyed out on, and it's because
absolutely. But there's a list of guys, maybe 5 or 10, that if I see them, I'm asking for a picture for sure.
Well, there's guys that I fanboy out, and I'll support them. I don't care who they're fighting, because we have history. I announced their fights on the regional scene or something. So like Mike Perry, Mike Perry gets a bad run in the, from people. Mike Perry is my dude. I don't care if Mike Perry was fighting Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou, and John Jones at the same time.
That's your guy.
I'm taking Mike Perry, man. That's a dog, And it's hard being in the media, having the friendship, and then trying to be, truthful sometimes, and some guys get upset with it, but it's part of the game, but I'm willing to play and learn along the way. So you said you ran into Frank. Is that the biggest fanboy moment you've had in your career, or is there somebody else that you've met besides Krause? Because I'm guessing, you probably have Krause posters on your wall and, all that shit, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's one of them. When I was 19, I think it was 18 or 19. I was still an amateur. Yeah, I think it was 18. I went down to ATT down in Coconut Creek with my coach, Jason High. Jason High, I think, was in the UFC at the time. And we stayed at the dorms, and man, the whole trip I was there was me fanboying and getting to train with, some of the greats, and just seeing like superstars in MMA at the time, like getting to watch Dustin Poirier train and spar, and there were so many people, Amanda Nunes, and this was prior to her like superstardom, a bunch of people like that down at ATT, where I was just like, whoa, this is super cool. I remember calling it the MMA Disneyland, just because
that's
the equipment, the coaches, and then the fighters, it was MMA Disneyland.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time down there because I live in Florida. I'm only 3.5 hours away from there in the car, so I go down there, on a fairly regular basis, talk to guys. It's a great place to be, and I think you're calling it an MMA Disneyland is probably the coolest thing I've heard said about it. It's a great big school now. They got dormed over top. Greg Hardy lives upstairs. Luis Pena lives upstairs. And they constantly have different fighters living there above the gym. It's like a Apollo Creed Rocky moment, in the second Rocky, where Rocky had to go live in LA and, go back to the streets. It's pretty funny. So let's talk about your, and by the way, thanks for being cool and honest about, fanboying out. Like I said, it's cool, man. Fuck it, man. One day that's going to happen where, people are going to come fanboy over you, and, so, get yours out of the way now and then let them fanboy over you, and, even Dana White was impressed with you. I mean, after your fight, you can see the look on his face. And so, Dana has a flavor of the month all the time. His favorite flavor is always going to be Conor McGregor, followed by Scoop or Ronda Rousey. But then there's openings there where, you could slide in there and become one of Dana's favorites. And there's nothing wrong with that. And Dana will fanboy on his favorites. So, just get to that spot and then, you're golden. So you get the fight on the Contender Series again. And I saw you in there, and like I said, you look like a 10-fight veteran, octagon veteran, like you've been there before. Like you said, act like you've been there. You weren't acting like you've been there, though. You were like you were there. There was no act from you. That's the thing. You could tell when some guys are fake and trying to act like they've been there, and they're trying to act like they're comfortable. You were just walking in like, yeah, so what's another fucking fight? A few more people, and Dana White's here. Big fucking deal. That was the look that came across your face when you made the walk. That was the look you made on your face when they closed the door to the octagon. And even after the fight, I mean, you were just cool. I mean, you were excited, but you were cool, man. Take us through the whole moment of getting in there, the fight starting, and how hard was it? Difficult? And I guess it's stupid because I already answered my own question, but was it difficult for you in that moment, even though you didn't show it? Was there some difficulty, like just accepting that here I am, and because there's a lot on the line. Let's be honest. UFC contract or back to the regionals. You want to go to the UFC. You don't want to go backwards. You want to go forward. So was there any like pressure on you? Did you feel it? And does that motivate you, or does that, sometimes make it more difficult for you to perform? Some guys can't deal with the pressure. Some guys can. You come across as whatever pressure it is, turn up a little more because I got more for you. That's how I see you.
Yeah, Chris, you're pretty spot on. To me, obviously the stakes were the highest they've ever been. But that didn't really affect the fight in itself. To me, at the end of the day, it's another fight, whether it's in front of Dana White or in my backyard. A fight's a fight, and the goal is always to get the win. The fight was the easy part, man. My teammate Mike Breeden and I kind of went through a lot of shit on fight week, a lot of weird circumstances, and it was probably the most stressful week of my life. Just the circumstances leading into the fight. So the fight was the easy part, man. That was the fun part. And I really didn't feel any extra pressure because of the opportunity for a contract. To me, it was just another fight. But obviously the stakes were higher. I've had fights to where I fought last July, and my grandpa lives in Colombia, and he's never got to watch me fight live. And he's 89 years old, I believe. So wow. It was probably his last chance to kind of watch me fight. And in interviews a lot leading up to that fight, people were like, is there any added pressure to win? And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to win regardless. If there's one person in the crowd, or if there's nobody in the crowd, if it's in my backyard, like I'm trying to win the fight. So there's never really added pressure. obviously the stakes get higher with every fight, whether you're coming off a loss, whether you're fighting for a contract, whether you're fighting in the UFC. But, you know, at the end of the day, you just got to perform. The pressure goes out the door, whether there's a crowd there or no crowd. So it was just another fight.
Yeah, and that's how he came across to me, man. Like I said, man, you're just a cool cat, you know. My next guest coming on in a little bit, Impa Kasanganay, he's the same kind of dude. Like, I'm sitting there watching, you know, and I'm more like when Impa went in, because he fought with us on Island fights, I'm watching his fights, and I'm probably more nervous and jacked up than he is. He's all just like chilling, you know. I'm like going, dude, get in there, baby. I'm losing my mind out here on TV, you know, watching it. When my boy Phil Rowe went, I actually went out to Contender Series last year to watch my boy Phil fight for and receive a contract. So yeah, it's crazy that some guys can just go out there and do it, and then other guys, they have issue with dealing with the pressure. They still go out there and work, but they're just something different. I think when you have that ability to be calm and cool, collected in the situation, whatever it is in life, and I think you probably carry that in your whole life, not just in fighting. I think it makes you a person that has an advantage over others. Not that you're better than. I don't think any of us are better than other human beings, but being able to deal with stuff better than other people helps us grow and helps us teach people. Now, if you notice behind me, because, you know, you just got into the UFC, they've got the fight cards all filled up right now, but they're going back to this place in October.
Fight Island, baby. Yeah.
Fight Island, baby. I just took us to Fight Island. So you're one of those guys, and I'm going to guess you have your passport and all that ready. But because of the way the Contender Series is moving and the talent they're bringing in, I have a feeling you're going to get a booking, and your first fight is going to take place on Fight Island, another historic spot. You know, what's your thoughts on when and who you might want to fight, or do you, at this point, you just take whoever? Or do you have a targeted plan? And Fight Island, is that someplace you want to go and, you know, maybe make your debut on Fight Island? Because that'd be dope.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've had teammates fight on Fight Island, and they said that 15-hour flight was kind of killer. But I wouldn't mind it, man. I would do it. I like to travel, and I think it'd be a really cool experience. As far as my next fight, we actually signed for it today. So they were trying to put Contender Series people on pretty quick turnarounds, and I was all about it. We were just waiting for my foot to get cleared. It got cleared yesterday. So,
awesome.
I do have a fight lined up. I'm not sure how much I can talk about it, but it's the month of November, and it's booked. So I love the matchup, love the opponent, and I'm sure the UFC will probably be announcing it here in a couple of weeks.
Has the opponent signed yet? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. So you know what I'm going to do? While we're sitting here doing this, I'm going to message Ed right now. I'm going to be like, Ed, can you tell us? Hey, listen, I'm all about getting breaking news, and, you know, because I'm an independent media guy, so, you know, I don't get all the ESPN breaking stories. You know, I wish I did, but so sometimes this happened a few times on the show where somebody says something. I said, oh, wait a minute. Can you say? And they're like, I don't know. And then I'll message the manager, be like, hey, can he say something? So I just messaged Ed right now. I'm like, can Jeff divulge the fight? It's right there. I'm going to see if he responds.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of it I can say, just because they haven't announced any other fight on the card. So that's the only thing that's kind of holding me back, is there's no one else on the card yet. So, well,
I don't even care about so much the date, because, you know, obviously November, if it's a fight card in November, you know, I already know there's a few cards coming up. He said no. Look, I'm going to put it right on the screen.
Thanks for checking. Yeah.
He said no. Yeah. Hey, I took a shot, man.
Yeah,
but
shot.
Yeah, that's awesome though. That sucks.
I will say I'm excited about the matchup, man. I've never been in a boring fight, and this one's guaranteed to be fireworks, man.
All right, so I'll ask you this about it, since you can't tell me who, and you can't tell me where, and you can't tell me a date. Although you did say November, so we got a little piece of information. I'll ask you this about the opponent, and you could just say yes or no to this, so that way we're not getting too deep into. Is this somebody that we all would know? A good MMA fan, you know, not a casual fan, a good MMA fan that follows sport, somebody that we would know.
Yeah, I think so.
Don't say anything else. I don't want to get you in trouble. because if I get you in trouble, then they don't want to let me interview guys anymore. I don't want to do that. Ed, if you're watching, that's all I'm going to ask about it. Sorry, Jason. Sorry. But if you don't ask, the answer is always no. That's how I look at it. So, well, that's good though, man. So you're already booked for another fight, for your debut fight, and that's awesome, dude. I mean, that's why you're doing this, And there's a lot of guys like you who are going to get turned around real quick and get inundated into the UFC faster off the Contender Series than in previous years because of the climate of the world. So, fortunate timing for you. I mean, the pandemic for some people has been bad, but for guys like you, you're thriving in the pandemic. You got a contract. You're going to get it. Dude, man, that's fucking awesome. How old are you again?
I'm stoked, man. I turned 23 last month. I guess we're in September now, so 2 months ago.
Man, you're such a young dude. You're a baby in life, and you're a professional athlete fighting in the #1 league of mixed martial arts. After the contract was signed and everything, you're in the UFC. Did you take a moment by yourself, away from friends, away from family, away from your cats, away from everybody out there? Because I saw the cats running around.
It's my brother's cat. I'm at my brother's place, but I'm not a big cat guy myself.
Did you take a moment to sit down by yourself and just go like this? Go, holy shit, I'm in the UFC, and just really soak that in for a minute, because I think it's happening so fast. I think some of the moment doesn't get appreciated. I know you appreciate it, but you get what I'm saying? Like, because everything's boom. I got the fight. Boom. I got the contract. Boom. I already got a fight booked. It's almost like it's happening so fast you don't get to enjoy the moment. So have you taken that moment to really
Yeah, Chris. I think I have. I've said those exact words. Holy shit, I'm in the UFC. Like I'm here, but I feel like there's still so much more to accomplish. Like first off, I feel like it just felt like another fight. Even after the win, even after signing the contract, it just felt like another win. Like it just like another professional win, which I thought was kind of strange. And I talked over with my teammate Grant Dawson. I think it was yesterday morning or 2 days ago.
That kid's a fucking animal.
Dude, he's a stud. He's so good,
baby. Woo!
He's so good. But I was like, man, it still doesn't feel like I'm in the UFC. And I'm like, I wonder if it's just because of the way I earned the contract through Contender Series instead of like getting the call and then having my first like UFC fight. So I'm like, maybe that'll change with my first UFC fight in my debut. And he's like, dude, I thought the same thing, because he was on Contender Series and kind of took the same path, maybe a little harder path. But and he's like, after my first UFC fight, I was like, okay, maybe after this I'll feel like I'm in the UFC. And he's like, nope, it just felt like another win. So maybe that's just the mentality we have to have. But honestly, it just felt like another win. Don't get me wrong. I'm really happy to be here. This is a dream come true, but I got many more dreams I need to accomplish. And I feel like I opened, like my foot's in the door, right? Like I opened the screen door, and now I got to open the other door. And I feel like there's just a bunch of doors I need to get through till I'm in the kitchen eating, like, yep. Still so much more I want to do, but yeah, I think I've taken it in, and I'm happy to say I'm in the UFC. I've dreamt of this since I was a kid, and I'm here, but a lot more I want to accomplish.
Yeah, and getting there, I said this to Cosce before I spoke when I was talking to him, and getting there is a part of the journey. Staying there is going to be so much more difficult for any fighter, because you can get there, but now you have to prove that you really belong there, and doing that requires reinventing yourself almost to a degree, because you're going to have to train harder, and you're going to have to train, more diligently. And, like you got in on your first shot. I'm going to bring in my other guest right now just to introduce you guys. I don't know if you met him, but Impa Kasanganay is right here joining us, and along with Jeff Molina. Now,
how are you, man?
And the reason I'm bringing him in is because, like, Jeff, you got there on the first shot. Impa went last year, got a win, and he should have gotten a contract. Could have gotten frustrated, but he didn't. He came back this year, won another one, and now he's in the UFC, and he just had his debut performance. So I'm going to ask him, because what we were talking with you, does it feel different, Impa, now that you officially had your first fight? Because, you had the Contender Series twice, and now you're there. You just had your first fight. You get notched to win in your debut, which is awesome. I expect Jeff Molina to do the same thing, because this kid's got mad skills.
Awesome.
But does it feel different? Because like he said, he goes, I don't know if I'm going to feel different. I'm in the UFC. I know I'm in the UFC, but I'm not in the UFC till I have a fight. So Did it feel different for you now that you had the official first fight?
No, man, it really feels like home once you're there. Like once you're in, I wouldn't even worry about that. Like you expected to be there, right? Like you put the work in, you had a great performance. Now you're here, you got your contract. Like, yeah, man, and much respect. So for me, it was like it felt like home, especially fighting in the Apex again, right? Like you're just like, all right, this is normal. This is home, right? I've been here, done that, and just what helped me was like literally every single day I thought about being in the UFC. It's like, all right, when I'm there, it's gonna be like this. Every time I watch the fight, close your eyes and just imagine you doing that walkout too. By the time you get out there, you're like, this is normal. The only thing that feels different, honestly, the entire the main thing once you get to fight day is the longer walkout. That's it. Like, but you get to hear your music, you get to hear your walkout song. You're so much in your zone. You're like, all right, it's time to go, man. Like, you did the audition, you did the thing, and you're meant to be here. So I wouldn't even worry about it at all.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, man, I'm excited for you. Do you have a debut yet?
No,
yeah, I got a date. I got a date.
You got a date.
Yeah.
You can't tell us though. Listen, he said he's got a contract. So I messaged his manager right on the phone. I was like, "Hey Ed, can he tell us?" And Ed was like, "No." But I took a shot. All right, so there you go. Somebody who's kind of in the same area where you are, Jeff. You know, he even said, you know, just felt like another fight. So, and because it was at the Apex, this was his third fight in the Apex. You know, just like, you know, that's his home court right now. I mean, he's got home court advantage in the Apex. That's kind of funny when you think about it like that. Yeah. So, Mr. Molina. So I don't know if you caught the end of the Cosce interview or if you saw my interview with James Lynch. But the final thing I do with every fighter on the show is the first time they're on the show, I ask them to sing. And I don't care what they sing. And Impa will tell you, Impa's done it. Impa sang the first time when I asked him, and then he actually sang the second time. So James Lynch sang earlier. Cosce sang happy birthday to himself because he didn't know what else to sing. So I haven't had anybody say no in over 200 guests. So, you can't be the first one. And I don't care if you rap, if you freestyle, if you sing your favorite TV jingle, it doesn't matter. Just a little something. It gives the fans a little insight to seeing a fighter uncomfortable outside of fighting.
Oh, geez. You guys got any requests? Oh, man.
Request.
What's your walkout song?
It's a Notorious B.I.G., but I don't think I can do that.
Why?
Some Spit Your Game. Man.
What do you like to listen to when you're working out?
Usually rap or hip hop.
So you got to know some rap or hip hop. You could just spit the bars out, just the chorus of a song. I don't care, it's all good.
Old school for sure.
I mean, Impa. Yeah, hey, listen, and Jeff, after you sing, I'm going to ask Impa to do what he did the first time he came on my show and sang, just so you know, because he went way old school. Like, you'll be shocked. But don't do an Impa until he sings first, because we got to get Jeff to get his little song in here. And my fans, the favorite parts of the fans on my show, they love hearing the athletes
part. Man,
this is it. Yeah,
you got to get James Krause on here. I want to see him on here for sure.
All right, well, you got to make that happen for me, bro.
Yeah. I'll make sure to talk him into it. I won't tell him about this part though, man. I can't think of a song, dude. I gotta make sure I know the words to it.
I know there's a song you know the words.
What was your favorite TV show as a kid?
SpongeBob. I don't know, man. Can I sing SpongeBob?
You can sing SpongeBob SquarePants song. If that's what motivates.
SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants. That's all I got, man.
That's good enough, man. Now, when I asked Impa to sing, listen, I asked Impa to sing the first time on the show, and Impa's a young man. And he believes in God. He's very Christian and all that stuff. But the culture of today is a lot of hip hop, rap music. You just said that's what you listen to. So I said, Impa, let me hear you sing. And this is what Impa did. Bust it out, Impa.
I see trees of green, red roses too. Wait, is that what I say? No, I sang "What a Wonderful World," right? Is that what I say?
That's what you sing.
I see the blue for me and you, and I think to myself, "What a wonderful world." All Satchmo.
That's a old Satchmo,
yeah.
30s and 40s
records. Oh man.
Jeff,
Yeah,
I'm going to
bro.
give you a pass on that because you did SpongeBob, and kids your age, they'll vibe with that. But if I have you on again, what you got to do is have something else ready for me. So
I'll have
this
something
way,
ready. Absolutely.
but the point is, you didn't let me down. You didn't make history of being the first to say no. So that keeps my streak alive. And get Krause on here, dude, and we'll get him to sing. If you get him on here, I will convince him to sing. I'm pretty good. Like I said, I've never had nobody not do it. I had one guy not do it, and then he came back on 30 minutes later. He goes, "Man, I should have sang. Let me do it now." And he came back on.
Yeah.
He really got upset. He's like, "Man," he goes, "I can't be the only bitch."
I love it.
So before we let you go, though, Jeff, if there's anybody you want to shout out, coaches, teams, fans, family, give us your social media so we can keep up with you, because there's some guys that are watching my show that probably are seeing you for the first time or hearing this much from you the first time. So one of the reasons I do this, because I like to talk to the young guys in the game. Impa will tell you. Impa's been on my show probably 4 or 5 times. And I like to give the platform to you guys that are coming up, get you used to cameras in your face and doing interviews, but to help you grow your fan base, and if you get one fan from this that sticks around with you forever, then I feel like I did my job and I, promoting you the right way. So, you're a cool cat, dude. I can't wait to see what you do in the UFC. Give us your sponsors, give us a sponsor run, give us all your shit right now, dude. Let it rip. Social media.
I appreciate that, Chris. Social media is jmolina_125. That's Instagram and Twitter. I think Facebook, it's JSMOLINA_125. Just want to thank my teammates at Glory MMA, my coaches at Glory MMA, James Krause, Grant Dawson, Jason High, Austin Ford. Sponsors, my man Clint the Barber has supported me from day one, man. Out in Olathe, Kansas. Clean Cuts. He's believed in me since I was an amateur in MMA, man. Since I was my very first amateur MMA fight, and even prior when I was underage doing kickboxing fights. My man Major Pack. It's a premier cannabis company out here in Kansas City. Kiko Arcillo, my tattoo artist out in Las Vegas. He hooked it up last week when I was out there. Great dude. Yeah, I got a tattoo last Saturday, or the day after my fight, last Wednesday.
So last Wednesday, where'd you get a tat?
On my back. He actually used to live out here in Kansas City, man. He flew out. He kind of abruptly left Las Vegas, moved out there, so it was cool to see him again. He's actually done like 3 other pieces on me, so super cool guy, and he actually hooked it up with this as a sponsor. So
see it before you dip out. Show us the guy's work, man. Give us a little view of the back there, because this was after the fight, so we didn't see this.
Yeah. So I'll make you guys go on my Instagram, check it out. jmolina_125.
There you go. That's marketing right there. I like it. That's marketing. That's good. I mean, it's ready.
The teeth, man. I'm trying to give a live video for his tattoo guy. You have to go to my Instagram. Well played, young man. Well played. That's how you fucking do it.
Last thing, just my management team, Iridium. They're great, man. They're great. I didn't have corners for this. Yeah, Jason House is the man. I didn't have corners for this last fight. My teammate and I didn't have corners. Jason House stepped in, and he let me beat him up backstage to get ready for the fight. So,
and he'll do that with all the fighters. Jason House is definitely aces in the management group. Iridium does great work. Jeff, man, thanks for taking the time. I hope you had fun on the interview. I like to keep it goofy and fun, and just be people, man. Just be people having conversations. I don't like to be like, so how did it feel when that guy punched you in the face? Well, I already know that it hurt. How did it feel when you? I already know those things, man. And people know that stuff, but I try to give it a little different side. Get some of the important stuff in, and then just goof off and have fun. So you're more than welcome to come back anytime. I hope you won't be wanting to come back, because we try to make it fun. You get Krause to me. Yeah, I friend requested you too, so I don't know what you got there. So hit me up so we can stay in touch, and we'll exchange numbers and everything. But if you get Krause on, I will make that dude sing for you, dude. And
right on, brother.
Yeah, we got it, dude. We got this shit. But listen, enjoy the rest of your night. God bless. Stay safe. Congratulations on the beginning part of your dream, dude, because it's just beginning, and you're a young man. You're 23 years old, man. The life you are going to lead is incredible. I think your future's as bright as Sean O'Malley's hair. So you in good shape, bro. You in good shape, man. Be well. Stay safe.
Thank you, brother. I had a good time. Thanks for having me, and it was nice meeting you, Impa.
You too, bro. Congratulations, bro.
Thank you, man.
All right, so we're going to say goodbye to Mr. Jeff Molina, and we are here now with my dude, Impa. And he already sang, so we don't even got to do it later, but he didn't even have to, but he just did it because Impa's cool like that. So we don't even got to ask you all the stupid questions. We're just going to get in. Dude, how the fuck are you feeling right now, man? And I know you're a God guy, and I'm probably way too foul-mouthed for you, but you know how I am. I speak how I feel. I just got to know how the fuck you're feeling right now, dude. You did it. You got there. You're in the UFC. You got your first win, dude. I am like so giddy for you. You know how I feel about you, dude. So this is one of the ones where I'm going to be like Impa for life. James Lynch is probably still watching, and I'm making the cardinal sin of, being too friendly with a fighter. But, when it's a guy like Impa, you can't help but be friendly with him because he's that good of a human being and you want to be his friend.
Thank you.
But, dude, as a friend, dude, how the fuck are you, bro? This is crazy, right?
I'm great. I'm living in a prayer, living in a dream. It's a blessing to do what I love, seriously. And, to get back in the Contender Series, super happy about that. It's funny because September 1st was my original Contender Series date for the second time. And to be able to have it moved August 11th and to make my UFC debut this past weekend and it go well, I don't even know what to say. It's the biggest blessing ever. I'm so happy. And then hopefully get another one soon. So working on that and ready to get after it. I love to stay active. I love to fight. And now I'm in the UFC, the top organization, and working with the staff's amazing. Everything's amazing. But like you said to Jeff before this, how awesome it is to talk to guys like you, because, before you're in the UFC and people are asking you questions left and right, you get opportunity to improve your skills speaking to people. You get the opportunity to take time and say, I didn't answer that the best that I could, or think about like your interview or how you set yourself up for an interview. If you log on early, I think all of that helps you as a pro. So I'm out in the major leagues and blessed to be here. So that I'm excited to get going.
Dude, I'm sitting here and go, I'm just remembering, a year ago, you're fighting with us at Island Fights in in a small venue up in, Orange Beach, Alabama, I believe it was, or Panama City. I don't remember which, because you fought for us twice.
First one was Destin.
Destin, that's right. It was Destin. Mm-hmm. Destin. See, there's so many fights I do. It's crazy. And I remember, and I was sitting there talking with Dean Toole, and Dean Toole said this guy's going to be in the UFC and it's going to happen quick. And when Dean tells me that about a fighter, I always do a double take and I look, because Dean is an amazing evaluator of talent. And I watched your first fight, and I'm sitting there, I announced you, announce your opponent, and then I sit back and I watch, and I watched it. I'm like, this kid's fucking great. Like, he's so young in his career. And look at how he performs. Again, I'm like Molina. I said to him, he went into the Contender Series like a 10-fight UFC veteran. And that's like you too, the difference between you and Molina, obviously, you're a little bit bigger than he is. But he's been training this his whole life to do this. Like from a child to, he's training all the disciplines of MMA to get here. Awesome. You, on the other hand, what are we, 3 years into you really doing this? I mean, is it 3 full years, or is it a little less than 3 years?
A little less. My coach and I, we actually sat down and went over, like, man, it's really been 2 years. When I started fully training, it was 2018. Like, my amateur debut was 2017. And then after that, I took almost the rest of the year away because I had to finish school and graduate. Right. And then I found Jimmo and was working a bunch. So I only went to, like, practice here and there because I had to try to figure out my life. And then 2018 was like, okay, we got to do this full time. And so when I made my first amateur fight at Jimmo, my second amateur fight, so the second amateur fight was when I was at Jimmo, was March of 2018. So
you're just a little over 2 years in.
Just a little over 2 years, yeah.
So it's April, May, June, July, August. So yeah, you're about 2.5 years into this, and you're 8-0 now, I believe, as a pro, and you're in the freaking UFC. Who does that shit? Listen, when I say this, it's not to blow your head up. You already know how I feel about you as a fighter, but being totally straight and professional and no bias toward you, nobody does what you're doing. 2 years training in a sport, I don't care how athletic you are, 2 years training in something, and now you're a professional in the biggest league in the world. That is just straight up nuts. It's unheard of. I've seen guys go into the UFC, like Sherrard Blackledge is going to be fighting next week.
Yeah. So excited.
He's fighting next week on the Contender. Now his record is small. I think he's 4-0, or it might be 5-0, but I think it's 4-0. But he's been training a lot longer than you, and there's most of the guys that you're fighting, the guys that are coming through they all did this a lot longer than you before they got there. you're like a phenomenon. I mean, that's just the only way I could describe it. Because again, 2.5 years with no fight experience, mind you guys. He used to play football. He's a good football player, linebacker, and he's big. He's athletic, there's no doubt. But being a football player and being a pro fighter are two completely different animals. So to be able to transition from playing football and then becoming a top mixed martial artist fighting in the UFC in 2.5 years blows my mind. I can't even comprehend it. Have you sat there and thought about really? And I know part of your answer is probably going to be you attribute a lot of that to God and your faith, but take that part out of it. Take the God and the faith out, and just look at the accomplishment. Have you really thought about athletically what you've accomplished in such a short period of time? Because it truly is amazing, phenomenal. It just is.
I never really sat and thought about it because I feel like there's so much more we can do. And I feel like if I sit back and admire it right now, I think that limits me, at least how I am. I'm like, okay, look what we did. And I don't want to be complacent and think like, oh, this is what we did and look where we are now. Like for me, I'm already working on my second fight in the UFC. Like hopefully I can fight next weekend. And for me, it's like you said, like a lot of these guys have been training a lot longer than me. And I remember when I was my first amateur fight, I said, okay, you got to understand right now that every single person you're training, you're fighting or like training with is going to train. I've had experience wrestling, jiu-jitsu. And by the time you're in the UFC, most of these people have probably trained most of their lives. Like Maki, that was his 20th fight as a pro. But no matter how many fights he's had as an amateur / smokers and stuff because he's a fighting guy. And for me, I was like, well, we got to figure this out, decode the puzzle. Never sat down and thought about it because Coach and I made a rule. It's like we want to admire our work until the end of my career, and that's helped me out a lot. So like whenever I start thinking about it, I'm very blessed. I'm like, man, it's pretty cool to have the fastest turnaround, all these things. That's cool, but I never give it much thought because I know there's something I can do better. Like I'm already starting different jiu-jitsu sessions I can get in or different striking sessions I can get on my coach. And the guy Diego Costa is in my corner. I want to get right back to work. I'm not here to sit down because it's like, yes, I'm in the UFC, and there's always something I can do better. So now I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get after. I want to get going.
Yeah, and and I'm not trying to change the rule you and your coach made by any stretch of the imagination, but you've been an athlete your whole life, so you look at sport, and you see guys, baseball players, football players, they work. If you're going to play professional football, you got to go through high school football a little bit, then college football, and then hopefully get drafted. So at the minimum, let's say you played 2 years in high school and you played 3 years in college. So you're training for 5 years and hoping that you become good enough to get to the NFL. Baseball, you grow up playing little league and then you go and play, high school and junior high and boom and college. And that's a harder path. You might be playing baseball for 15 years before you even get into a minor league contract. So I don't want you to sit back and over acknowledge what you've accomplished because, again, you don't want to look at all your accomplishments, like you said, till your career's over. But just as an athlete, and you look at it, step outside of yourself and look at what you've done for 10 seconds. And you got to just say to yourself, that's pretty freaking cool, right? I mean, short time to get there. And not because you didn't work, because you've been working. That's why you're there. But it's just crazy to me. I'm just sitting there going, 2.5 years, dude. Like, shut the front door,
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun, and to me, it's like it's a blessing to be here. It's like I remember when I was walking out, I was like, man, this is fun. This is cool. Okay, let's go. And then I guess the one thing I think I did do, I was like when Bruce Buffer was announcing my name, I started getting excited. I was like, you got to calm down. You got to calm down. I started like just like, oh, whatever, let's go. And I was wanting to give him a fist bump like Scott Holtzman does. And I was like, I got to give him the fist bump. And then I was like, don't hit his hand too hard. Don't hit his hand too hard. It was super cool. And it was all right, time to fight. That was probably like the one cool thing to me. But I love fighting. And the fact that I'm able to get to fight, I need more of it. So
yeah, no doubt. And as long as you stay healthy, the UFC is going to keep giving you fights. So when you got the Contender Series contract, your second time around the Contender Series, you get the contract, and Dana, the first time they weren't sold on you 100%. The second time Dana almost sounded like he wasn't 100% sold, but in his bringing you to the contract, right? He goes, I'm not 100% sure. I still got questions, and we're going to get those answered because he said he wants to fight in 2 weeks, where we're going to book him in 2 fights. Impa, you're in. So do you feel like you answered some of Dana's questions in this fight? And I know, knowing you as I know you, I don't care if you win the fight, however you win it. I also know, because you work so hard and you're so dedicated, that you're probably not 100% satisfied with your performance. Because that's just you. That's what hard workers do. They go out there and go, yeah, I'm 10-0, but I wasn't happy with my last performance, and the next one's going to be better. It's the motivating force that keeps you driven to go forward. But besides that, do you feel a little better that you went out and performed? You got a dominant win, against a seasoned guy. Unanimous decision. There was no doubt about it from bell to bell. You won the fight clear. Do you feel like maybe you answered one or two of Dana's questions and concerns, and now you can really just go out there and put on the Impa show?
Well, so I guess the questions were answered for sure. For me, that wasn't my focus. I mean, I got that question a lot actually before the fight. They're like, "Are you here to prove Dana? Are you here to show him and answer him?" Like, I respect Mr. White a lot, but he's not who I'm asking for my validation. I'm here to work, and I got a great team. I have my family, and I want to know what they think about how I fought and like how I carry myself. And people like you who've known me since March of 2019, right? That's what's most important to me. Like, I'll keep answering questions because I thought there's always going to be a question. Like, we had a great fight, and then somebody brought up and said, "Well, this person said this." I'm like, of course they're going to say something, but like the best way to answer that is let me fight again. So I said, if they have more questions, let me fight September 12th, the 19th, and the end of the month. And I think I did, because there probably been some article about like, look, he wasn't ready, or look, he would get hurt. I remember the first Contender Series fight, Dennis said he couldn't bring me in the UFC and get more experience because, or Mr. White said I could get more experience because he said I would get hurt in there.
And that's coming from where he's sitting. There's a validity to his statement. Here you were a year ago, only a year and a half into this sport, and competing at the Contender Series. So, based on what Dana White's seen, and you have to take that into consideration when he makes some of those comments, because he's been there, done that, and forgotten. He's probably forgotten about more MMA fighters than we're ever going to know. You know what I mean? So when he says he's worried about an athlete like yourself getting hurt, I don't think it's because he thinks you can't fight. I think it's because he's concerned that you don't have the full experience. I mean, being a year and a half into the sport, how much do you know? How much can you defend? And so I understood why he said it, but I don't think he was saying it to be derogatory, like, like,
not at all. Not at all.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I don't think he said it like that.
Yeah.
For me, I took it as like, well, let me fight and we'll see. Kind of like I said, well, not even like a chip on my shoulder, but more, I think like you said, like, okay, most of these guys have trained for so many years, and they're not used to seeing a fighter who's trained really mostly 2 years, just a little over 2 years now, right? And is able to go in there and have the performance we did last weekend, and then have the performance on the Contender Series, and then have the performance before that. But like
both Contender Series fights, dude. I mean, you really performed well, and somebody a year and a half, like I said, a year ago, a year and a half into the sport, and look where you were. So for him, it you know what I look at it as? You know what Dana was doing? Dana was hedging his bet and protecting a future investment, because he knew you were going to be there. So he wanted you to get a little more season, a little more training, and you went out there and showed him. You said, all right, I got some more training. I did the Contender Series again. I won that fight. Now I had my first debut fight. I won that fight. Dean Toole just popped on, and here he is. Here it is. Goes. Impa! I'm screaming.
Dean, how you doing?
Impa!
Dean's a special guy, man. He, it's funny. I think I've had a lot of people who help me get in the UFC. It's always funny when I get interviewed. It's like you think you should have like 40 people surrounded around you, but Mr. Toole would definitely be up there, because I never forget, it was after my second Island fight that he sat down and talked to me about the guys in the first round. And he sat down and talked to me about, like, keep doing what you're doing, man. You'll be in the Contender Series. And that was the first time I not really thought about being in the UFC, or not like being in the Contender Series, but I was like, oh, like, is it closer than I thought it was? I was like, I thought I had the fight for maybe like a year or 2 years before, I got in the Contender Series or the UFC. But when I remember, I'll never forget, it was right after the second Island fights. The guy who I fought, landed on the shoulder that popped out. And I was like, okay, well, the fight's over. And then I was like, whatever. So you're ready to go. And before I even walked out, I was walking out. Dean and I were talking a little bit. And he was just telling me, he's like, man, you're close. You know, and just like, keep doing what you're doing. Tell these guys the first round. And from that day on, I remember just sitting in the car driving back to North Carolina thinking about that, like, how close are we? And that was a really huge moment of career. I actually never even told him that. So it just means a lot, man. I thank him. And we were supposed to call him after the Contender Series fight. Number gave away, then we missed each other. And then I still got to call him and tell him thank you. But I just appreciate you so much if you're listening, and it means a lot. So he's a huge factor in my career and my life. And that's why, like, Island Fights is definitely my favorite promotion that I ever got to fight on outside the UFC. But it's because guys like Dean, Adam, everybody, you know, Ian, it's a great crew of people, McGee, like everybody. So like, it just means a lot. So I just remember that, and I'll never forget that day. It's like ingrained in my memory when he told me that. So God bless.
You know what's funny? As happy as you are, look, he just put a comment on there. My man with the heart, he loves you. Let me tell you something. And I say this sometimes about Dean. You know, people think I say it just because I work for the guy, and it's not because I work for him. It's because I see it. The happiest person in the world that you're in the UFC, other than yourself, is Dean Toole.
Oh, man.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, I'm super happy for you, but Dean, like, looks at you as a son, you know, and he wants to see you succeed. I mean, you've been around Island Fights, you know, you've been there a couple of times, and you know how we are. We're a family, and Dean wants his family to be successful, and he does, and you know, he gets excited, you know, and he get like, it's hard for, like, I watch Dean sometimes, you know, watch fights, you know, like we were on the phone the other night when you fought, and you know, he's doing his thing and he's having a good time. He's like, you know, he's cheering for you, but I can almost feel like, you know, if there was any moment of, you know, trepidation, you know, Dean gets like there's guys he loves, you know, like Brock. Oh, well, here we go. Here's another one of our Island Fights guys, Brock Shante Weaver.
My man.
He said, I'm happy for my brother too. He said, Dana can't deny him twice, and there's no doubt. You know, and that's the thing. Dana didn't have to deny him. It wasn't going to be Dana that denied him. I think it would be, you know, fighters denying themselves for whatever, for not doing something. You know, Dana's just there to tell you. That's, you know what I mean? You know, but like last year, I thought you should have gotten in last year, but I'm glad that they waited. You know, I'm glad that they did it the way they did.
I think it was a blessing in disguise for sure, and it was it really showed me how much I love fighting. Like, I remember I got back home from that fight, and the first day at the gym, I stared at the gym doors, and I was like, all right, you gotta, it's behind you now. Like, the second you walk back in the gym, it's over, and you got to get to it. And I told myself, I was like, I was hoping to fight. Like, I remember Mr. Wright was like, can you fight in another organization or fight 5 more times or before the end of the year? So get more fights. And they all fell through some way, somehow. And then, like, the last fight I was going to have, the LFA title, the pandemic came, and I was like, come on, God. Like, come on now. But
everything happens for a reason, man.
Definitely. And I think that was pretty cool because it showed me that I didn't have to necessarily have fights. I had to stay in the gym. And it paid off. It paid off. And it's a testimony to the guys that surround me. My head coach, Jeff Jimmo, Seki Delfino, Diego Costa, all those guys. So we're here now. We're ready to stay.
So that's from Dean. He said, how many fights didn't end up happening with you? Just a few, LOL. I mean, it was crazy. That's what we were just talking about, Dean. You know, probably three fights that I could think of that fell out for you during the time after the first Contender Series appearance. But again, you know, things happen in life for a reason. And I think it all fell into place for you the way it's supposed to fall in place for you. And now you're right where you're supposed to be. After the fight was over, you know, you go back, you get the win. And again, I know you're humble and you're always looking for the next performance. But did you take a moment after the fight was over and away from your coaches and all your guys, did you take a moment and just, you know, go back? Like I just asked Jeff Molina, you know, he got his contract. Did you just take a moment, go back? I just want to fight in the fucking UFC. Holy shit. And you maybe didn't say the F word because that's not who you are. But did you just have that kind of, oh shit moment? Like, I really just did this. Did you have even a little bit of that? Because it's okay if you do. You can still be a humble guy and have that moment because you earned the right to say, you know what? I'm here. You know, start at the bottom and, you know, start at the bottom and now here. And here you are. I'm not going to try to rap that because I don't have the beat for that one, but you know.
All right, I got you. We do that from the song for the show, huh? Not really, because I remember right after that fight. I mean, even when I found out, I didn't even know that I had the fight until Dana said it. When Mr. White told me that I had the fight, Lou was calling me from first round, and since the UFC accidentally gave up my number on the night of the Contender Series, I didn't answer my phone because I just kept getting random phone calls. So
Right.
I put my phone away, and apparently I told I told Lou, if you don't get me or anything, anytime I get a fight, just say yes. That's all I need to do. I don't care who it is, where it is, when it is. If it's tomorrow, say yes, and I'm ready to go. And then ask for the next one. And I remember when Dana White said, "Yeah, he seems like he already accepted a fight." And I was like, "I got a fight? Awesome, let's go." I was like, "What is it, next week?" And I kept thinking, my brain was like, "Oh, September 22nd, okay." And they kept saying August 22nd. Then it got pushed back a week. But that night, Diego and I were already working on the fight. Like we went for a walk almost to the strip. We started watching film on Maki. We were talking about it, maybe some in and out motions we did in the fight, some ways we need to move ahead, what Maki does well, what we think we can do better here, what we need to be careful of, different calls for the fight, things that I was messing up from that night. And then they fell asleep, was already ready. And then we watched film all the way back on the plane. So it wasn't even like then. So then after the Maki fight, I was already asking if I could fight on September 12th, and now we're working on that one. So hopefully we get that soon. If not, so it's
That's
like
next week.
yeah. So I'm hoping, because Brian Barberina fights on the card, so I want to fight on that one too. So I'm actually going back out to Vegas and cornering him. So I was right back in practice. So I haven't sat down. The first walk I took actually was today, and I was like, man, we're in the UFC. That's cool. Let's go. Let's fight again. I'm like, I was trying to figure out who to fight. I've been asking to fight.
Like after you won the fight, like you got to have that moment. Here's the thing. Even though you're not going to, like get too crazy into, each of these little accomplishments along the way, you have to take a moment and have that. You have to say, you know what, I am here, and he'll be there Sunday. Where's Dean going Sunday? Dean's going to Vegas, I guess, on Sunday.
Nice.
Yeah. So, wait, Dean, where are you going, Dean? Tell us where you're going, because you said you'll be there Sunday all week. Maybe he's talking about it, because we have bare knuckle fighting next week in Daytona Beach. Brock will be there Tuesday all week. Oh, because is Brock fighting next week? Brock, are you fighting next week, man? I'm all lost. But Dean will be in Vegas. So yeah, Brock is going to be in Vegas with Dean. Look, they're all typing it. Vegas.
There you go.
Vegas. I'll be there Tuesday. I'll be there Sunday. So I guess
I'll be there
Dean,
Tuesday too.
By the way, like, these are my favorite interviews to do with somebody like you, because you're so appreciative of where you're at. You're putting in work. Yeah, Brock is fighting next week. I get all lost in these fights. I got so much going on right now. But Brock is fighting next weekend, so that's why Dean will be out there. Maybe Dean, you should work his corner, man. Get to see you on the show. He'll be in the penthouse. That's how Dean rolls. Dean don't roll in like the Econo Hotel 6. Dean hits the penthouse. Dean, Dean's Dean's a baller, man. He got this brand new. Do you see his truck he put up the other day?
And the truck's beautiful.
I know fights on Tuesday. Yeah. So yeah, we got all kinds of stuff, man. This is awesome, dude. This whole group of fighters that are coming through. He's driving his truck down Flomaton. Pete Zachary. Damn, who you fighting, Brock? There's all kinds of shit going on here, man. So now that you're here, now that you got that first fight under your belt, and I know you're going to continue to work hard to continue to do big things, but you're talking about a fight next week already. Like, do you think that kind of an aggressive schedule is too much to do, and should you take a little more time between a fight to just kind of hone skills as you continue to go through this? Because the one thing I've seen some guys do is go too fast, and your career path is already like at a blazing speed that nobody's ever seen before. So I guess maybe if it ain't broke, don't fix it would be the mentality. If I'm going to so there you go. But do you want to take a little pause here and there between fights, just to make sure that everything's fine tuned and everything? Because fighters always have nagging little injuries, and stuff. I don't care who you are, how great you are as a fighter. Training hurts, and even if you're greatly trained, you're gonna have little nagging injuries, little things that are sore and here and there, and unless you're a superhuman, I don't think that you can even avoid little bug injuries, or can you? I don't know.
Fun fact is, I broke my hand in my first pro fight, and then I fought the island fights with it. I fought the. Oh,
That
man,
for you.
Thank
He
you.
said
God bless you
he
too.
wrote Impa, and then he corrected it on the next comment. Thanks to Impa. Pete,
Thank you so much.
Pete worked with like Phil Rowe and all those guys over there. Helped them out with their stuff, but he knows who you are, and a lot of us know who you are. So
Thank you, sir.
didn't mean to sidetrack you with that comment, but I knew you would want to read that because
I appreciate that. God bless you too. I see that in his name.
That faith. It's showing the faith that I know is so important to you. And next time we do an interview, I'm going to try to do it without saying one bad word. But I don't know, because I'm a kid from Brooklyn. It's just those are part of it.
I love Brooklyn.
I love you. So I tried. Like before, I corrected myself. I used a different word. I'll get there. When I'm like 75, I'll stop saying bad words. But I got like 20 years. So
appreciate you
again. So you're going very fast in your career. Do you think that you should slow a little just to enjoy the whole ride, or just keep going forward? And before you answer that, here's another little thing Dean wanted to bring to everybody's attention. Impa, Mike Davis, Chase Hooper, all three of you are in the UFC now, and Sherrard, who's about to go fight for that contract. You guys all fought on the same card, which is crazy.
Yeah. What the
That's
heck?
what he can do.
That's what he does. That's for sure. That's what he do.
Dean, what it do? That's what it do.
Man, yeah. I mean, for me, it's like I like the speed we're going, and I want to keep putting the foot on the gas. I mean, like you said, but don't fix it. I actually talked to a fighter when I was out there, the PI. I was in the training room getting some like post-training therapy, the Norman Tex, and hanging out. Andre Philly, and I asked him a question like, "I got any advice for a young fighter, rookie?" And he said, "Don't stop doing what you're doing that got you here." And for me, staying active, like the more I fight, the better I feel. Like the first fight, like when I got back on Contender Series versus Anthony Adams, it was like almost like respect to him, like nothing bad, but it's like almost like a sparring match. I didn't really spar much before that, like anything, because I was preparing, helping Scott get ready for the Darius fight. So I was fighting Southpaw. I was training, and I was like, oh, we have my Contender Series fight September 1st, so we have some time, about like 5 weeks. Then all of a sudden we get the call like, you're fighting August 11th. I'm like, let's go. And I just looked at it as a blessing, because with the coronavirus and everything going on, how many fights do you have to get? So many coronavirus tests. You have to be around people. You're flying back and forth from Vegas. I'm like, the more blessing that God gives me and the ability to fight, I'm going. There's a verse I always take with me. Joshua 10:8, says, don't be afraid of any one of them. Not one of them will be able to stand you. And when I look at it like that, I speak that on myself. I take those verses and I say, don't worry about it. Like, if you're meant to be in the octagon, there's an opportunity for you to claim victory. So you got to go get it. And that's how I take it every single fight. When I was in the Island Fights ring, when I fought my LFA card, it didn't matter to me. It's like, when I'm called to fight, I go fight. And that's why I never turn fights down. And I looked at it like, I love what seems to be going fast, but I guess it's all relative. For maybe somebody, because I guess for most people, they've seen people train for 10 years. For me, this is the only speed. This is the only speed I know. So it's like telling like a cheetah to run to move like a turtle. The turtle that does seem fast, but for a cheetah, that's the only speed it knows. And for me, it's like, all I want to do is fight. All I want to do is get going. Like, I care about it. And to hone my skills and refine, I believe we can get better on fight week. I believe we can get better the day of the fight. And I think it's what we really believe. And what I think was really cool about this past year of me not fighting for almost a full year was the first time I actually ever had time to sit between fights and hone skills and work with John Salter on my jiu-jitsu, work with Chris Honeycutt in my wrestling, work with Scott Holtzman in all his fights, work with Joe Selecki, work with Brian, work with other fighters, work and think about it, and then go back and watch film. And then we had the pandemic, so I was like, man, this is a perfect time for me to watch a bunch of film. Now it's like, you invested. Now let's start seeing, reaping the benefits. And for me, it's you seen guys like, the only way to make history is to do what nobody's ever done. And I get the opportunity to do that. So for me, it's like, I'm keeping my foot on the gas. I'm going to keep going. I'm ready to fight. I want to fight 5 more times before the end of the year. And
wait, you want to fight 5 more times this year?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So it's already September, October, November, December, and you already have 1 year. So you want to have 6 UFC fights in a 6-month, dude. You're crazy, and that's why I love you, man. Hey, but it's also about getting those paychecks and going out there and getting the wins, and building your brand. I mean, why put off to tomorrow beating that you can give out today, I guess, Yeah, Brock wanted to let you know that he feels all of Impa's posts are wise. You have a lot of good posts, and I've noticed since you got there to the UFC, you're tweeting a lot more. You got your Facebook popping. You're putting it out there, bro. Sending the message, delivering the message, sending the word out there any way possible, using the platform in a positive fashion. And that's awesome.
Thank you, Brock.
Brock loves you. I love you. Dean loves you. Pete Zachary loves you. Pete said he loves me even though I have all that profanity. Thank you for loving me anyway. I'm just a foul mouth dude. It's just the way it's just me,
Brooklyn brother.
Everybody's got their personality and their thing, Impa wants to beat people up, every single weekend. That's what he's going to try to do. Can you imagine like getting like 3 fights in a row, 3 weekends in a row? Like,
oh my God. I'm asking after I pray to God. I'm already asking. That night when Mr. White told me when I was talking to him right after they announced that I would have my interview with Misenko, I asked him, I said, hey, I appreciate you letting me fight on the 22nd, but can I fight on the 29th too? And he's like, and I said, well, can I fight from after? And now it's, hey, if he sees this interview, can I please fight on the 12th? And then can I fight on the 19th? Like, I'm ready to go. Like, I love to fight him. Like, I said it. So let's keep going. Let's keep going.
From now on, every time a fighter drops out at 185 or 205, short notice. I'm not going to say 170 because that's going to be a pain in the butt to get down to 170 on short notice. But 185 and 205, anytime I see a fight drop, it's going to go, Dana, hit up Impa. Dana, hit up Impa. Impa's ready.
185, light heavyweight, let me fight.
Not heavyweight, dude. Stop it.
I'd like to fight heavyweight. I've been asking to. I never got enough show that let me fight heavyweight yet. But
what do you walk around at?
200.
So you're walking around a little bit less than the light heavyweight, man. You can't go take a heavyweight fight.
Of course you can.
You got to bulk up some, dude. They wouldn't let you. I mean, you have to be over, 206. I mean, so
I can get over 206 easily. I can get over 206. I could honestly. When I played football, I was walking around at 230. I could definitely walk around at heavier. I just choose to because I like to make 85.
Yeah. Pete Zachary also said, if you're ever in Orlando, come through Fusion XL where Phil Rowe and the boys train. Alex, Mike Perry, all those guys. They roll through there periodically.
Sure.
So they'd love to have you there. I think everybody would love to have you come to their school, man. You bring a positive energy with you, and that's
I appreciate the invite.
You have a light within you. I think we all do. But you're really shining bright right now, and especially in the fight game, for guys that are coming through. You're an inspiration. If the hard work. Some guys have done it for 10 years, some guys have done it for 15 years, and there's guys that they're like Mackie Patoli just fought. How many fights did he have in the as a pro before he got there, and then you're fighting a guy with that level, so you're just doing so much, man. I talk fast, but you're living life fast. You're living life faster than I can talk, and that's pretty impressive. So I just hope I don't want them to burn you out. That's my big concern. And when I say that means overbooked you too much, give you too much too soon. Now I believe that if they call you every month and say you're going to fight every month, you'll fight every month as long as you don't have an injury. You'll fight every
weekend. I will literally fight every weekend. Imagine fighting 4 times in a month. Imagine fighting every weekend. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's something that even Cerrone didn't do, and or Oven St. Preux, another guy that was taking fights. He had.
Is he pretty active?
Oven's had like 8 fights in a 1 year period, and I think it was like over 11 months. So that's a pretty active schedule. Mike Perry at one point had a pretty active schedule. Cerrone will take a fight with anybody anytime, from 155, I think all the way up to 185 now. I don't think 45 he could get down there, but he's fought at 155 and 70, and he said he'd consider a 185 if the right fight came along.
I fought him. Really honor. I respect the way he fights. I love the way he fights. Just like I love the fight exactly. That'd be awesome.
But you gotta wait till Nico Price gets done with him because Nico Price has him next. They're fighting. Yeah, Nico Price is actually going to be on the show Sunday. We're going to be talking about that fight, so I'm pretty excited about that.
I respect Nico. Fights.
So you're home in Carolina right now, waiting for another phone call. Now, I know you'll fight anybody, anyplace, anytime. Is there anybody out there right now, in particular, in your division? And I'm not talking about the champion because everybody wants to fight the champion and be the champion. realistically, is there somebody out there that you're looking at that says you say to yourself, no, if I fight this guy, I can maybe, get closer to getting a number to my name? I don't think they would give you a number after your second fight unless you fought number 2. Then obviously they'd have to put you in the top 15 if you beat somebody in the top 2 or 3. But is there somebody out there right now in particular that you're interested in fighting in your weight class at 185?
Yeah, a few guys. So I seen Marvin Vittori's looking for a fight, and I tweeted at him. I respectfully tweeted at
You
him.
tried to get him. You wanted him before you had your Contender Series fight. Here in Florida, he had a fight, and somebody dropped on him, and you were like, "I'll fight him." I remember that.
Yeah, he had 2 fights dropped. I mean, we actually spoke a couple times respectfully. I mean, like, he's cool. Like, he's looking for a fight, and I was like, let's do it. I mean, I got called about it, and the first time it was during the coronavirus when my LFA fight got canceled, his fight got canceled overseas. Because obviously it was out of his control, out of my control in that sense. And they're talking about that fight, and then he had somebody else, and then this guy missed weight, and I was like, I'll fight him still. And I messaged him. We've spoken on Instagram. He tweeted back at me, and I think he's trying to do that to build it. But I'm ready to go. I'd love to fight him, claim that victory. Gerald Mishuret, I hope I said his last name right. I got tagged to fight him, and I was like, man, I'd be honored to fight him. I got tagged to fight Daniel Stewart, and I would have loved to fight him too, but that would have to be after his next fight. So anybody in the 85s, anybody 85 and up. So
85 and up, man. That's awesome, man. Like I said, hard work, dedication, and hustle. That all those words personify what Impa Kasanganay is as a man and as a fighter, because that's how you've lived your whole life. So it's amazing to see the progression of from when I saw you first to where you are today, because you have grown more as a fighter, less as a person. And when I say that, it's not because you haven't grown as a person, but you were already that person when we first met you. The person, the character. So the fighter was more my biggest concern, how you would grow as a fighter, and you're just living up to the bill, man. It's like, Impa's got to fight. I'm not even going to worry about him losing. Impa's got to fight, man. Hey, guess what? Impa's got to fight. Hey, guess what? Impa's got to. I mean, it's like, fights dropped out. You just stayed positive. You stayed the course, and the hard part is getting there. The harder part is staying there. I think those are lessons I always say to fighters, to make sure you pay attention. Look at the guys that came before you, and you see, there's guys that have come through. Got 2 fights in, and they got cut because they lost 2 fights, or they weren't UFC ready. And if you get cut, making it back is hard. Chase Sherman just recently made it back to the UFC, but getting back there is harder than getting there the first time. So I don't see that being a problem for you, because you work hard. And I think you're going to be around a while. I think one day we're going to see a belt around your waist. And it won't be like, it won't be to hold your pants up, son. It's going to be championship gold,
the 85 light heavyweight and heavyweight belt.
Yeah. I think from now on, when I do I'm sitting here like, I'm sitting in my little studio, and I think from now on, when I do my show, I'm going to put this mask on my microphone. It's not Libre.
Oh man, that's my show. That's my movie. I love that movie.
That's my Nacho Libre mask, man. It actually fits on my head. I do. Yeah. Look, I'll show you. Just for you, Impa.
Oh man.
Not really just weird. Sometimes I just do this because it makes me feel silly. Oh yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how to work with the glasses though. I mean, it's like there's not the whole.
It's perfect.
And then the headphones hold the glasses on, so we're good. So I can see. Yeah, I'm Nacho Libre, bro. This is my coronavirus mask. I'm gonna start wearing this out to the grocery store. They say
I think I need to get one too.
You got to wear a mask. I got this.
Yeah.
You know what? I got this too. I got it because I bought the movie Nacho Libre, and it came with the mask inside. So I was like, I'm keeping this shit, man. Fuck it,
That's awesome.
But
that's awesome.
I can't find my Spider-Man one because I have one of those too. The Spider-Man one is dope though. It fits the head so nice, and but I don't know where I put it. It's a much nicer material than the Nacho Libre one. But so anybody you want to shout out before we let you go, man? That was my wife's hair. Was she wearing my mask? I don't know. That was weird. But is there anybody you want to shout out?
Sure.
Other than First Round and Dean Tool, and I know you're going to shout them out again because you love them and they deserve it. And Jacob Kilburn, hold on. Jacob Kilburn popped in. He wants you to know that that's a sweet haircut, Impa. Yeah,
Thanks, bro. I
baby.
appreciate it. Got the mohawk for you.
I mean, I got the little line. I just got that chopped in yesterday, but I can't do the full mohawk.
Yes, you can. Would you get a mohawk before I get my next fight?
Will I?
Yeah.
Get a mohawk?
Mm-hmm.
If what?
When I get my next fight, would you? I always cut it before fights.
Here's the thing. I would. However, I have a very busy fight schedule coming up with Island Fights, with Icon, with Toe the Line, and Roy Jones Jr. Boxing. I don't know if they would like me to be fully mohawked while I'm on camera on Fight Pass. So I'm going to have to respectfully say no. But just know, in spirit, and I'll say this right now. Oh, wait, hold on. He said, I don't love Impa if I won't cut my hair. All right, Jacob. Do you love Impa? Go get your hair mohawk, bruh. Yeah. Hey, go get the Impa cut. Otherwise, you don't love Impa. Uh-huh. Yeah, I got you back. I just, like I said, all honesty, I think they might get a little upset if I try to, do that look. I'm supposed to present a certain thing, and I don't want to have them upset. But if Dean says I can do it, I'll do it. I don't give a shit. It's just hair, you know what I mean? I mean, it's all faded out on the side. I would just have to take out a little more. But I don't know if I have enough to grow it up tall like yours,
I need like a faux hawk. I had a short one before, This one was part of the quarantine growth. And then I was like, you know what? We're going to cut the mohawk. So,
I just have to let mine grow out a little bit. So, yeah, maybe I'll do it. Jacob said he's shaving his head as we speak.
Let's go.
Jacob, he said shaving as we speak. So, Jacob, in about 15 minutes, I expect to see you post on social media your hair mohawked like Impa's. If you don't, remember, God is watching you. Don't be lying.
I appreciate it, Jacob. My man.
Yeah. It's really cool. You, Jacob, Brock, all really believe in your faith, and I think that's cool. And it drives you, and it keeps you in the right frame of mind, the right spot mentally to continue to progress and move forward. So nothing but the best for you, dude. As a journalist and somebody that covers the sport, man, it's really great to see your meteoric rise, and we expect big things, based on what we've seen so far. As part of your MMA family, or I consider you part of my MMA family, I'm so proud of you, dude. I'm just proud of you, man. And me and James Lynch were talking earlier about, try not to show bias. I can't not show bias for you, dude, because you're just that good of a human being. And I'll sing that to the heavens, because what impresses me more than what you've accomplished as a fighter is just you as a person. You're so humble and real, and caring and giving. You got all the right elements and attributes that you want in your fellow human beings. You're better than most of the people I know. I'll just say that. And not because you're trying to be, just because you naturally are. And some people just aren't. Some people are just jerks. So that's just human nature. But to know you is a blessing. That's how I feel about it. So, and I'm sure most people know it's a blessing. Thank you. Oh man, well, I appreciate that too. But I'm probably some incarnation of the devil. You probably should never talk to me again. I'm kidding. I joke about myself. I have to do it, man. It's fun. But listen, man. All the love to you, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, man. So proud of you and what you've accomplished, man. And it's only going to get bigger, man. So just remember, I'm calling dibs right now. After you win a title, I want the first interview. You have to do ESPN and shit and Rogan inside the octagon.
All right, hold up. Here we go. I'm gonna write it down.
All right. Oh, you won't have to write it down because I'm gonna remember.
I'm gonna put it on my vision wall.
Oh, okay. I'm going on the wall.
I'll put it here, I guess so.
All right.
It's right here. Ready? Oh, this is my church's pen, by the way. Go elevation. Elevation.
Oh, nice. I like it.
Shouldn't steal church pens from church, should I? But
hey, man. Free pens are free pens.
Writing it down right now.
All right. So I'm waiting to see. He's going to write the note. I'm going to be on the wall. So. Dun, dun, dun. I'll do some Jeopardy music. Jeopardy answer.
After I claim the UFC middleweight title, Mr. Chris and I are speaking first. My man.
That's cool. All right, guys over there. It's going to be on the wall. Either that or he's going to just crumple up and throw in the garbage. He's just trying to make it for the show. No, if he writes it down and says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. That's the one thing I know. When he says it, he does it. Now I know you have to do Joe Rogan first. Although it'd be great. You're right after your fight. You have your coach hand you the phone. Go, hang on, Joe. Yo, Mr. Chris, what's up?
Hey. All right, I mean, honestly, that'd be the one time I think I'm pouring tears after a fight. I'm like, you got it, to cry.
That'd be like epic fun for me. But I know you got to do ESPN and all the media there.
Won't you be there? Won't you be there?
What, when you win?
Yes, sir. We get that title. Hey.
Oh, it all depends on where it is. If it's like overseas or something, and I can't afford to fly over, the next best thing to being there is, internet. So we'll get you. I hope I'm there, but we don't know when that's coming, I mean, let's see, based on your aggressive fighting schedule, probably in April, I'm guessing, so probably by next April, you'll be like, 12-0 in the octagon by then, they'll have to give you a title shot. So there it is.
Well, for that, getting that right there.
Actually, before I let you go though, one other thing, your division has a huge title fight coming up. Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa, both guys undefeated. It's a tough fight to pick for me. I'm taking Costa to win the fight. I think his power. I think listen. I think that the champ there, Israel, is a talented fighter. He's got a lot of skills. But after watching him fight Yoel Romero, I started to have a little different assessment of him, and I think he's not. He's not the guy that a lot of people think he is. Not saying he's not a great fighter. I mean, look at how he, rose to the cream of the top of the level and became a champion. No doubt about it. He's a great fighter, but there's just something there, and it showed to me in the Romero fight. So Costa is big, strong. He's coming forward, and he's not going to allow Israel to not engage. In other words, Romero and him both seemed like they were both willing to not engage. That's not going to happen in this fight. So what's your thoughts on that fight? Who's going to win that fight? Because I just need to know who's going to win. I need to know who's going to win so I know who you're going to be taking the belt from.
I'm thinking it's man. So it's funny. My coach had a dream of me fighting Costa, which is cool. So I see that happening, me fighting Costa. But let's fight it. It's an interesting fight because, I think Israel could possibly get caught in there. But he's very smart too, and I wonder how smart he's gonna fight. He fought Yoel. He wanted to throw a lot, but he fought, I guess, as smart as he could to keep the title. And then when he fought Gastelum, we did see him fight, and we saw him fight Whitaker. He played the Whitaker's game where Whitaker bounced around and touched him. So I think there's something special there. And there's that whole team. Like if you even analyze the whole team, they're really, really smart about the way they fight and they choose their fights and they pick their fights. But with all this time away, I'm very interested and seeing intrigued to see how smart Israel fights Costa, because Costa, one thing we know, he's coming forward and he's coming to fight. Those are the fights we love to see.
He doesn't fight backwards. He doesn't fight as a counter puncher. He's the aggressor.
He's coming to fight the entire time, and I think that in a way too, as smart as Izzy is and as accurate as he is, they could also get Costa caught, because Costa we've seen get dropped, and we've seen Costa get dropped. We've seen him get dazed. We've seen him fight other people, and we've seen him get openings, and he's not as mobile as Izzy. I remember the guy who came forward a lot at Izzy, Derek Brunson, right?
Yep.
He kept coming forward, and Brunson's awesome, man. He's a great fighter, and I have nothing but respect for him. But he kept coming forward, and he didn't. I don't think he fought as intelligently as Izzy did. So I think that, and then that's where he caught him with that knee. And Izzy, one thing we saw about him, man, he has a pretty solid chin. He fought. I mean, Yoel threw some crazy shots. He was like, okay, here he is. And then when he fought Gastelum, he took some shots too. And I mean, Whitaker was coming too. Yeah. So now none of those guys I don't think are at the same level of power as Izzy, but then also you have to remember Izzy's striking pedigree. And I don't think Costa's going to try to wrestle him, because Costa, if it's a grudge match and you fight somebody who's all aggressive, or they think they're just going to come and try to just bully him over, I don't see that really working with Izzy. And I think he gets it. I think Israel Adesanya gets it because he's going to fight more intelligently, not because he's necessarily going to fight just a brawl fight. I think he's going to try to, in a sense, like walk the dog rather than being a dog fight. He's going to try to lead the dance. And the way he moves, it's like, you ever see like, it's like any kind of like martial art movie where that person just coming out, and they're like, okay, I'm here, and they touch him. All he needs to do is touch him with that one shot. And the thing is, people think is he small, but he is 6'4" and has to cut down to 185. So who knows if he's really cutting down from 230 or 230, 20 something. So I think his frame may seem skinny and slender, but if you really think about his measurements compared to a guy like Costa, who's shorter and more stocky, who knows physiologically how that translates. So I think personally, I'm going to be wrong, we'll see, but I think that Izzy gets it because he fights more intelligently, and I think he can catch him too by like touching him. Like if you think about the great boxers, Tommy Hearns, he always looked a lot skinnier than his guys, but he'd catch him at the end of their punches, and that's the kind of shot. I think that's the kind of fight I think that happens in this one. So.
Yeah, it's going to be, interesting, to see this fight really break out. Like I said, I think that there's no doubt about it.
5 rounds.
Well, it could be 5 rounds. I don't think it's going to go 5 rounds though. I mean, when you break this down, now the advantages that Izzy does have, obviously he's taller. He's got 3 inches, but he's probably kind of like a 7 or 8 inch reach advantage. Most of the time, I wouldn't even say anything about that. But that's a huge advantage. But in this instance, I don't think the reach advantage is going to be anything for him because Costa wants to come in close. So you're not going to keep Costa at distance. I mean, that's just not how he fights. So Izzy, will try to use his footwork and avoid the big punches and avoid the clinch work of Costa. Because if Costa gets him up against the cage panel, that's where Costa is going to do a lot of damage because he's going to get in there and do that dirty boxing. And he's going to work him. And he's going to just put that weight on. It's going to be a good fight. Either way, it does. And you know what? At the end of the day, who knows who's going to freaking win? We won't know until the fight's over. We can all make these predictions like we know shit, but we don't know shit. We just, at the end of the day, I know when you're fighting, you're going to win. Other than that, I don't know shit in life. That's it, man.
Right. So we'll be there soon. We'll be there soon.
Man. And then, that's it, man. The title, that's the goal. So, if you want to shout out, like I said, anybody sponsoring all that stuff, man, go ahead and flip those out there before we let you go. And I'm going to let you go because, you got to get the rest, get back to work tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir. Right in the morning, 6 a.m. Let's see. First of all, I said thank you to my entire team. Everybody. First of all, I said thank you to God without being here. Thank you to my family. And they've been super supportive these past 4 weeks, especially my mom. She's like, you're fighting again. So shout out to her. Thank you to my coach, Jeff Jimmo, Diego Costa, and Seki Delfino cornered me in my last 2 fights. And, everybody at the Jimmo Tribe, thank you to you for having me on here. Shout out to Mr. Dean and everybody at the Island Fights crew because that was definitely a catalyst in my career. Shout out to my 2 sponsors, J&J Mobile Detailing. Shout out to the Movers Co., all the guys out here. We're growing in sponsors right now, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I just want to say, thank you to everybody who's listening. I mean, it means a lot. Thank you to the UFC and their staff. The reason we're having this interview is because they all came together and helped me get in the octagon. So just grateful. And shout out to my previous opponents because, without them, I wouldn't be here either. So ready to get after it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. You said without my previous opponents, I wouldn't be here. And that's right. If you didn't beat those people up, you wouldn't be here today. So, it always sounds weird to thank them, I guess. Like if I was one of your opponents, I'd be like, man, I don't want to be thank you because he beat me up. But I get it. I understand what you're saying. You're not
respect to them.
It's respect to them. It's not bag on them for beating them. So listen, man, like I said, all the stuff you've been doing, dude, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep moving forward in life. You got a great camp up there at Jimmo. With Scott and Barbara Reina and Ricky Reina and everybody else up there. I mean, it's good stuff. Jimmo and all that. You got a good, nice little camp up there to work with. My heart broke when Scott's last fight. I've known Scott for a long time, from the XFC. I'm not going to get into the whole fight, but just my heart hurt for him because, he's a good dude, man. I was hoping he was going to get that big win, but he always comes back tough. So I'm not worried about it.
Went to training sessions, trying to bust out the headgear.
Yeah.
so he's coming.
I wouldn't want him to hit me training or in a fight because he's very powerful, very strong dude. The first time I saw him fight with us at XFC, I was like floored, like, holy shit, this guy's strong. So with that being said, Impa, you go enjoy the rest of your night. Get rest, man, because you got a title to win here in the near future. Stay safe. Be blessed as you always are. God bless you, dude. And yeah, I'm glad you put that note on the wall, dude. So that hits me right in the feelings, dude. That means a lot to me. Because I know when you say it, you mean it. So I know that, so that's cool. So after ESPN and Joe Rogan, it's me. Ha ha. And all you other people, na. And you haven't lost yet. I will say this to you: win, lose, or draw, I don't care. Always going to be in your corner. Always going to be a fan, not because of your fighting, but because of the man you are, which is more important to me than the fighter you'll ever be. It's the man that you are, and you show to the world, and that's what makes me a fan. The fact that you can beat people up too, that's the bonus. That's the gravy. So, honored to know you, honored to call you a friend, honored to announce your name before you got to the UFC. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll get to announce you in the UFC. You just never know. You just become so big and famous that you demand your own announcer.
Oh, really cool.
It's funny. You could be that big and famous, and you still wouldn't do it because you're just humble. You would never be like, all right, man, I want my own announcer. You wouldn't be that kind of a diva, So
my parents would beat me up.
I'm just gonna say, man, your mama would whoop your butt right there, man.
Oh my gosh, could imagine.
And that might be the only human being on earth that you're afraid of is your mama. You don't want to ever let her down. You could take on Francis Ngannou, John Jones, Stipe Miocic, no fear. Mama come looking at you, I'm hiding. I'm running around the corner. I'm hiding from my.
She always lets me know too. Her two rules or two things she says. She says her one rule is don't let them punch you in the face, and then number two is she always tells me, just so you know, I can still beat you up. I'm like, thanks, Mom. Yes, you're right. And I'm not too big.
So then she get mad, if you let somebody punch you in the face. I mean, you're not trying to, but you're fighting pro fighters.
Oh my gosh, I was laughing so hard at the Anthony Adams fight. He punched me like right in my face. And the first time I was like, Mom, oh man, keep moving, let's go. So I was laughing about that, but she was laughing. She's like, don't worry about it. It's okay. You're good.
That's so funny.
So yeah,
mama down. Don't let mama. You don't want that, man. She won't make you your favorite meal anymore. You can't have that happen to me because mama food is good food. So yeah. Well, listen, man. Enjoy the rest of your night, man. Again, God bless you and your team. God bless you. And, again, so proud of you and happy for all your accomplishments, man. It's only going to get bigger and better. Can't wait to see the next fight. Maybe next weekend. Who knows? So we might have to change your name from Chilobo though. Impa, I'll fight anybody. Kasanganay. I think
I like it.
Or Impa, I'll fight anytime. Kasanganay. Because that sounds like what's gonna be your thing here. Just anytime, any place. Some guys say it. You're living it, dude. So that's the truth. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking because I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. And we'll just never go. And I'll be awake and you'll be awake. My wife will be going, "Come to bed. I'm tired." I'm like, "Shut up. I'm talking to Impa." Listen, man. Go do your thing. Enjoy the rest of your night, man. Congratulations on all the success and thanks for letting me be a part of your life today and for you being a part of mine. Totally appreciate it. Honored.
God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you too, brother. Oh man, I could talk to him literally for hours and hours and hours, man. Guys, we started at 7. It's 9:37. We just roll and do our thing. Thanks to my guests tonight, James Lynch, Louis Cosce, Jeff Molina, and of course the man himself, Impa Kasanganay. All these guys are honorable people, the kind of people I like to associate myself with. Glad that they're all around doing what they're doing. James Lynch, great stuff in the media world. Louis and Jeff are getting ready to start their UFC journeys. Impa just started his. These three guys, and I'm glad I'm talking to them now, man, because these are guys of the future. All of them. They all have great assets and skills that they're going to bring and attributes to the cage. All different styles of people, different style of fight, but they all have the one core element. That's the desire and drive to be successful, and they're not going to let anything get in their way. And that includes James Lynch. So this tonight, maybe the theme of the show is never quit, never give up, stay persistent, and always work toward your goal, because that's what all four of the people on my show did tonight, and that's what I do on a daily basis. I'm never going to quit doing what I do. You guys don't quit doing what you're doing. That's the positive message we take tonight, even with my potty mouth. That's just the way it goes. So I love all you guys. And like I said to Impa, thank you guys for being a part of my life and let me be a part of yours today. I truly consider it an honor and blessing. Until next time, which will be Sunday, I will have Nico Price ahead of his Donald Cerrone fight, and we're going to have Nate Shook from Toe of the Line and BKFC telling us all about the Toe of the Line fight series that I'll be ring announcing in Tunica, Mississippi on I'm going backwards, September 26th. So if you look down here on the scroll, I've got September 24th, I'll be in Biloxi with Roy Jones Jr. Boxing and Icon Fighting Federation for their debut show on Fight Pass, and their debut show is Icon. I'll be ring announcing both events, which I'm honored to do. Then 2 days later, I'm in Mississippi, again in Mississippi, because I'll be in Biloxi for those two shows, and I'll be moving up north in Mississippi to go to Toe the Line. October 3rd, I'll be back in Pensacola with my Island Fights family. October 16th, Toe the Line is coming here to Florida. And then the Toe the Line shows are all available on the BKTV app. October 22nd, we're going to Mexico, man. Roy Jones Jr. Boxing and Icon Fighting Federation will be Icon 2 live from Hermosillo, Mexico. So it's going to be good. You guys stay tuned, follow me, keep up with me, and I'll give you all the latest updates I can on Bare Knuckle, UFC, Island Fights, Icon, you name it, we got it. I see Impa still there. Impa, don't go nowhere. And you guys enjoy the rest of your night, man. I love you all. Thanks again for being here tonight, man. And like I said, Curtis Blades will be the biggest threat to John Jones at heavyweight. You heard it right here. The other guys, Francis got a puncher's chance. Stipe is just not as good as Jones. Curtis is the wrestler that will put Jones on his butt. Not saying he'll beat him, but he'll be the toughest test for Jones at heavyweight. That's just my opinion. I'll leave you with that. Good night, everybody. We'll see you soon. Until next time, I am Christopher James, and y'all been Cage Side. Peace.